Video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. Have to fix the camera now again. God, everything just... There, look at that, huh? And then look at the freak, the chat. Let me get that fixed up here. Man, my streaming crap's struggling. There we go, right there, okay. Okay, everybody. Thanks for the pre-show a few minutes ago. Hey, thanks, Lee D. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about New Jersey, the New Jersey girls' murders. There's just so many of them. That's actually how they term it. But they're all just wild. I mean, you gotta think that some of them are related. They have to be. We already know some were, because there was actually 2 serial killers. When I go through this one website that lists them all, you can see 2 of them. There's another serial killer. He's responsible for 2 of them. And then remember the guy that we were talking about yesterday that had 3. Anyway, sorry for the divergent. And like I said before, I don't care if you smoke pot or anything. I'm just talking about Oregon and legalization of mushrooms. Okay, here we go. It's just not, it's not as safe as people say either. Just trust that. So here we go. We're going to start off with on a case called, well, the girl's name is Sophie, I think it's Olenek. That's how I think it's pronounced. Olejenik. Probably like a Russian name or something. Slavic. Okay, you guys ready? Who looks happy? Okay. So this is how it starts off. Girl is found dead in a brook. In brook. The badly decomposed body of an unidentified young girl was found in a brook near Sunnymead Road yesterday afternoon. State police in Somerville said details of the incident were lacking, and the body was to undergo an autopsy last night in Somerville in an attempt to determine the cause of death and the girl's identity. The body was found in the brook by young boys who were walking nearby. The boys were not identified. Police were notified at 1:20 p.m. and reached the scene shortly afterwards. The body was removed to the Bongiovi Funeral Home in Raritan, New Jersey. According to unofficial estimates, the girl was 14 years old. Police said records of missing persons are being checked in an effort to identify the body. And then I guess they were able to, the next day there's an obituary. The funeral of 14-year-old Sophie Olenek, whose body was found in Hillsborough Friday, has been set for Wednesday at 8:15 a.m. from the Bon Jovi Funeral Home. How do you spell Bon Jovi? That almost seems like the same thing. Funeral home and Anderson Street. Let's see. An 8th grade student in the Manville Public School. She would have been graduated this week. Daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jean Olenek. She is also survived by 2 sisters, Julie and Stella. Okay, so then it's 10 state, county, and local detectives. This is the next day in the paper. Continued a broad investigation to turn up all possible leads which would help to run down the apparent sex slayer of 14-year-old Sophie Olenek. Prosecutor Anthony S. Meredith said that the pattern of the investigation calls for questioning all friends and acquaintances of the girl whose body was found in Royce Brook in Hillsborough Saturday. More than 50 persons have been questioned. Meredith issued an appeal for public help with the police. He asked that his office or the Somerville State Police Barracks be called by any person who saw her any time or any place on June 2nd, the day she was murdered. So the thing is she went missing on, looks like around June 2nd, but was found, I think, on the 9th. And this is back in 1963, actually. I mean, we're talking about, 57 years ago. Meredith said a Manville man questioned Sunday and release was to be questioned today. He withheld his name, but said he is in his 30s and has one conviction of carnally abusing a 13-year-old girl. Miss Olenek was found in water 6 inches deep and had been drowned. According to Meredith, her head apparently was held in the water. He said that the body was decomposed to the point where it was impossible to pinpoint bruises. He said that a pathologist, however, was able to make a sufficient examination to rule out rape. Then earlier, it's weird because you said sex slayer. So, the position of the body and the disarrayed clothing indicated an attempt to unnaturally molest her. Her blouse was ripped, and that's why they said that then. Her blouse was ripped and her, Toreador pants partly pulled down. I don't know what those are. Let me guess. They're corduroy jeans. Meredith said that although the hour of death has not been pinpointed, it probably was a few hours after she was last seen. Meredith described the girl as of good reputation and one who went out in groups of her own age. According to Meredith, her father, John Olenek, at first refused to allow her to go to camp. He later relented and gave her permission to go. Meredith said the girl had attended outings at the camp before. This is a place where you can go dancing. And I actually have this stuff on the map here. So this is where she lived. Right here. And the place where the dance was, it's right here. It's called Polish Falcon Camp. And she was going to go here and go to a dance. And she was going to walk there. And her home's right there. And apparently she was seen walking. Some interesting articles coming up here. Police press hunt for the girl's killer. State, county, and local detectives yesterday continued to seek out and question friends and acquaintances of 14-year-old Sophie Olenek of Manville, whose partially nude body was found face down in a Hillsborough brook last Saturday. A prime suspect, a 37-year-old Manville man, was released for a second time Tuesday after undergoing 3 hours of examination with a lie detector. He had been questioned Saturday night also. The lie detector tests were inconclusive. 2 other men have since submitted to polygraph examinations, bringing to 9 the number of persons questioned. She was last seen alive about 4 p.m. that Sunday, walking south in Sunnymead Road. And I think that's, let's see. Hold on. Yeah, so that's Sunnymead Road, and it actually, yeah, there it is. So Sunnymead Road is, I put a pin on it. So apparently she was already walking south here after leaving from her house, going this direction, and then she was walking south on Sunnymead Road because that would lead to the Polish Falcon camp right there. You guys see that? So she was walking south in Sunnymead Road from Kaplan Avenue, or Champlain Avenue, and that's right here. See? So she was going here, and then just headed down south on Sunnymead Road. And then she was heading to the Polish Falcons camp where she regularly attended Sunday afternoon picnics and dances. Death was due to drowning, and it is presumed her killer held her face under a few inches of water in Royce Brooks. She had not been raped, but there is possibility she was sexually assaulted. Response from the public has been tremendous, one investigator said yesterday, and we are following up on every tip and talking to volunteers who believe they might have information. Murder leads are rechecked. Prosecutors Arthur S. Meredith said Tuesday that much of the search for the killer of Sophie Olenek is being devoted to rechecking earlier leads in the light of additional information received since the girl was found dead 6 days ago. He said a flow of phone calls had been received since Tuesday when he appealed to citizens to pass along any information they believe is related to the crime to him or the state police. Meredith said that although some of the tips turn out to be unrelated or just rumors, all calls are acted on. Alright, so, and now we're on the 15th here. Those are all consecutive days, those articles there. Prosecutors no new clues in the murder. The girl was last seen June 2nd, the day she was presumed killed, as she walked to a picnic dance at Polish Falcons camp. Meredith today discounted the possibility a hairbrush found 100 yards from the scene of the slaying had any connection with the murder. At first it was thought the brush came from the girl's purse, which was found near the body. Meredith said the developments during the night disclosed the findings of the brush was only coincidence and has no connection with the case. Yesterday, detectives continued to recheck stories of persons who last saw the Manville teenager that Sunday afternoon. And then about 2 weeks later, area newspapers have stopped carrying daily stories about the investigation of the murder of 14-year-old Sophie Olenek of Manville, but it doesn't mean authorities have abandoned efforts to find the killer. In fact, a half-dozen state police detectives, 4 Somerset County detectives, and several municipal officers have been working on the case almost continuously since the girl's body was found face down in Royce Brook off Sunnymead Road. And I think that, so this is Sunnymead Road, and let me change the, yeah, now you can see the brook. So if she was found in a brook off Sunnymead Road, it's going to be right here. So this is going to be the area that I think she was found. because the rest of it, I mean, it could be right there too, you know, because that's close. But as you can see, it kind of runs in and then it reaches the road right here, and then it leaves the road about right in this area. So it's going to be right in that small zone. And look how close she was, almost at her dance spot right there. Let's see. So it was found face down in Roycebrook, Sunnymead Road in Hillsborough, June 8th. Let's see. So they think generally that Sophie's killer was a male, presumably older than she is. The pathologist reported to authorities the child had been raped, although her clothing was disarranged. Had not been raped, excuse me. But her clothing was disarranged. Had there been a struggle? It is presumed there was, but physical evidence other than the girl's body is slight. There were no positive marks of violence on her body. Practically nothing has been found at or near where the body was to even suggest that might have happened that Sunday afternoon. She had left home about 3:30 p.m. that day to walk some 2 miles to the Polish Falcons camp, where picnic dances are held on Sunday during the summer. She was supposed to meet her best friend to walk to camp. See, here's one of those crazy scenarios again. No, it's not Delphi. That's not the only case that exists, EMT. There's a lot more cases out there, believe it or not. It's interesting. She had left home about 3:30 p.m. that day to walk some 2 miles to the Polish Falcons camp, where picnic dances are held on Sunday during the summer. She was supposed to meet her best girlfriend to walk to the camp, but the friend had gone on ahead, so Sophie started out alone. Man, that other friend's probably lucky then, that the timing, unless Sophie herself was the actual target. At Camp Lane, the Sunnymead Roads, she met 3 other friends, and they stood and chatted for, wow, that's crazy. So when she was right here, right at this area, she met 3 other girls, and they sat here and chatted for a while. It's weird how much information they actually have of just that little bit of time. Okay, so she stood and chatted for maybe a half an hour with those friends. Then Sophie started walking south in Sunnymead Road towards the camp. For a while, authorities could not be certain she ever arrived at the camp, but is now pretty well established she did get there. Oh, wow. So she was on her way home then. She did get there, but only stayed a few minutes. It's hard to say of those who believe they saw Sophie at the camp, who last saw her alive. No. Okay, so that makes more sense that the other girl that went ahead wasn't attacked, because it almost seems like she was at the dance and that's when somebody spotted her and then maybe followed her home. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense. Hey, thanks Berserker Loci and Lee D up above. The lack of physical evidence at the scene, numerous searches have been made, has left authorities with only one primary course of action: asking questions. None of the 3 interrogation aids, lie detector, truth serum, or they used hypnosis back then. They actually have like a hypnotist guy that they were mentioning. Persons questioned in connection with the murder fall into 2 broad categories. One group is composed of friends of the girl and anyone who might have seen her the afternoon she disappeared, or who might have seen anything unusual. The possibility of accidental death in the case of the Manville teenager has been considered, but how? Authorities have not yet received reports of toxicological tests on the vital organs. But it turns out it's not wasn't drowning. So here they question a man, although not a suspect. A man is currently being questioned about the murder of 14-year-old Sophie Olenek. Let's see. Somerset County prosecutor Arthur S. Meredith said the man in question might possibly have some information concerning the girl's activities on June 2nd. The prosecutor said his office has not yet received toxicological reports. So, same thing. And then, now we have this article here. This article, though, is from, so 63 is when that happened. This article is from 1971. So 8 years later. Yeah, I just have that playing all the time, EMT. Okay? Yeah. All right. I just have it playing just so people can notice it, all right? Can you not disrupt the show, though? I'm trying to do a show tonight on, the New Jersey cases here. Is that all right? Cool. Thanks. All right. Mysterious death recalls another girl's fate. Some striking parallels can be drawn between the disappearance and death of 13-year-old Gail Kalinowski of Maniville and the 1963 disappearance and death of another Manville girl, Sophie Olenek. So isn't this weird? So now we're just... okay, cool. Let's see. Thanks, Jody William. What is that? Is that like a kung fu? Yeah, I just have that playing just to play. I'm trying to get as many people who can see that as possible. I mean, it can't hurt, right? So listen to this. This is a story here that they think is kind of similar. Some striking parallels can be drawn between the disappearance and death of 13-year-old Gail Kalinowski of Manville and the 1963 disappearance and death of another Manville girl, Sophie Olenek. A year older than Gail, Sophie was found lying face down in Royce Brook, a tributary of the Raritan River, 8 days after she disappeared from her home. Gail's body was found in a floodplain of the Raritan, Raritan, perhaps left behind by receding floodwaters. She was missing 18 days. The cause of death in each case was drowning. Both bodies were so badly decomposed that medical examiners were unable to determine whether they suffered any bruising attacks. Both girls went into areas where, judging from past habits, they normally would have avoided going alone. Sophie's death, however, was immediately treated by police as involving a possible sexual assault because of the position of her body and her disarrayed clothing. Gail's clothing was found to be intact. Both girls disappeared shortly after talking to acquaintances. Is that how you spelled acquaintances back then? Or is my brain just not working? A-C-K-U-A-I. I thought it was it has a Q, right? Okay, yeah. See you later, EMT. Don't ever come back again, all right? Because we were moving on and you just kept going. What an embarrassment. Yeah, okay, so that's how it was actually spelled right there? Wow. That's actually how it's... I was thinking, wait, is my brain just not working here? A-C-K-U. Man. Yeah, so it has a C in there. Okay. Sophie's death, however, occurred in the days before police routinely ordered toxicology examinations of vital organs. Hey, thanks, Catherine Sophia. I turned 31 today. I always enjoy your show, Gray. Great research put into every case. I admire your hard work and also your charity work every month. Very logical and concise. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Happy birthday to Catherine. Happy birthday to Catherine. Happy birthday to Catherine. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
There you go. Wow. Mary Lou was, I guess you could see my face over there. I just sing along with her. I mouth it. But thank you, yeah. Yeah, it takes probably some days like 4 or 5 hours to get all these files together because I have to keep look everything up. And more than 50 persons were questioned in connection with Sophie's death. None was charged. The case remained open and a mystery. But here, check this part out. This is the part that was a little bit weird. Okay, watch this. So this is where Gail lived, right there. And this is where Sophie lived. 8 years apart, but died the same way. I mean, it just seems... That's hard to ignore, that they live that close to each other. It almost seems like it's somebody around there that would just observe how people would move around. So, I don't know, I find that interesting. And let me read the write-up on that website. It's in the description. But this is the one on Sophie Olenek. It says, abducted or ambushed, killed in the vicinity of the encounter on rural road and bush terrain, found face down in 6 inches of water on bank of the creek. Mud and sand were found in her mouth, so that means she was alive while her face was pressed into the ground, and then she breathed that in and it got into her mouth. Clad in orange blouse, so that means she died where she was found. Orange blouse ripped open in front, pedal pusher torador, I don't know, style pants, partly pulled down, no penetrative rape reported or determined, walked or forced through bush on footpath from road to creek, drowned forcibly by head being held in the mud and creek. Her purse was found on the opposite side of the bank. I wonder if that, let me look at this. So is there a little path that goes right there? Kind of looks like a little... You kind of wonder if she was made to walk down there, or maybe from the other side, but apparently her purse was found on the other side of the creek that she was found on. So, let's see. Sophie Olenek, 14, departed her home at 49 North 11th Avenue. And she went to attend a dance at the Polish Falcons camp. Last seen at 2:30, walking on Champlain and turning south down Sunnymead Road, the Polish Falcon camp on Falcon Road, approximately 1.2 miles away. Okay, let's see. South Sunnymead Road, Polish Falcon camp on Falcon Road. Okay. Found June 8, 1963, face down in 6 inches of water in Royce Brook, according to newspaper, 200 yards upstream from Sunnymead Road. Huh. So now we got 200 yards upstream from Sunnymead Road. So this is Sunnymead Road, and they say upstream from the road. Let me go back to that other picture. And then let me look at, sometimes when you look at the creek, you can see which way it flows by, let me see if I can, it looked like it was a little bit clearer in a couple of these. No. Yeah, it's not, earlier I thought I saw something, like right there. Where is that? Trying to figure out which way it's flowing. There's another bridge. I mean, the current goes like that because it's eating away, it's meandering. I just don't know which direction. Like, maybe from this you can tell that. So I think it might be going, no, you can't tell by looking at that. Well, either way, it was 200 yards upstream from the road. So it kind of makes me think it might be up in here. Like, that's 200 yards, and that's way more secluded back in there. And look at that. It looks like there's even a little path right there. How crazy. I bet you that's it. Look at that. Wild. I mean, that's years ago, but a lot of those things always just stay there. What book? Does it have to do with this? What movie are you guys talking about? I hope it's related. Now that is a creepy path. There it is right there. Right through there. See that? Yeah, I would bet money that that's the spot. I bet you if you go back, as far back as you can go, that's still going to be there. See, look at it. You can kind of just make it out barely. That's 1995. So I guarantee it that's been there. And this stuff hasn't been, if you go back, obviously. That's not there. So when she was walking around in there, it was a really desolate area with not much stuff going on. Okay, so then that other case was just mentioned, and then that one is 1971. Manville teens missing. So both of these people were missing on the same day, and they're both in the same town. So that part's interesting, regardless, of how they clear this guy. But this kid would have been really young at the time. He would have been like 6 or 7 of the other one. So he probably is innocent, but it's just weird. About 200 men returned to a wooded area near Dukes Parkway this morning to resume their intensive search for 2 local teenagers. One of the youths, 14-year-old Gail Kalinowski, has been reported missing since 7 p.m. Wednesday. She is a freshman at Manville High School and is a daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Kalinowski of 1329 Green Street. I just showed you that one. The other missing youth is James D. Payne, 15, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Gerald DePayne of 150 South 14th Avenue. Yeah, so he lives right here in this house. Right there. And then Gail lives in this house right here. And then the home of Sophia was right in the same area. I mean, look at that. James lives here, Gail, and then Sophia. But, you know, I don't think he did something to her because he would have been 6 years old. Sophia lived in this house right here. It actually looks like a pretty big house. Yeah. The 200 men were, well, see, she was reported missing last night at 9:30, so that would have been on the 9th, on a Thursday. The 200 men were from Borough and State Police. The Fire Department, Somerville Police, and Civil Defense combed a wooded area bounded by Brooks Boulevard, Dukes Parkway North, 13th Avenue, and Route 206. They were aided by a helicopter. State Police headquarters in Morristown. Flying with police officers was Peter Pracha, police commissioner in the borough. The girl was last seen on the corner of Duke Parkway and North 13th Avenue. So let's see, there's Duke's Parkway. Let's see where North 13th is. Dukes Parkway and North 13th. Ah, yeah, that's exactly what I was picturing earlier. It's crazy. All right, without even knowing that. So that's where she was seen last. Right there. They were aided by helicopter. So she was last seen there. Let's see. The girl was last seen on the corner of Dukes Parkway and North 13th Avenue. She's 4'10", has blonde hair, blue eyes, and was wearing a brown t-shirt with brown and white striped slacks. The boy is 5 feet, weighs 103 pounds, and has brown hair and brown eyes. She's 14 years old. I think he's 15. That's pretty small for being 15. I mean, persons with information about the teenager call number, but those numbers are long gone. So this is now 1971. Girl's body on riverbank. Post-mortem is scheduled. An autopsy is being performed this afternoon on a badly decomposed body of a young girl discovered yesterday on the south bank of the Raritan River. The post-mortem examination by state pathologist Dr. Edwin H. Albano is expected to reveal the body to be that of 14-year-old Gail Ann Kalinowski. So this is on the 27th. So she was missing for 16 or 17 days. The tentative identification of the body is that of Miss Kalinowski, is based on general description, clothing, and location, according to Somerset County Assistant Prosecutor. We hope to verify and positively identify the body. Let's see. The gruesome discovery was made at 1:45 p.m. by two Manville youths. Jerry Squitry, 17, of 130 North 7th Street, and Mario D'Agostino. They were out looking for animal tracks prior to hunting season. And you could tell that was definitely a hunting area before. Now it looks like they've developed and there's people living there. They were out looking for animal tracks prior to the hunting season when they came across the body in the northwest section of Manville, south of the Raritan River, between the river and the area used as a landfill site by the town and John's Manville Company. So let's see if we can... See, I was thinking maybe she was found right here. I don't know if this is considered a landfill or... The northeast section of Manville, south of the Raritan River. So she's not actually in the water. Between the river and an area used as a landfill site by the town. Police theorize that the body was washed ashore from the river swollen during a recent flooding. The body was removed, so that makes sense. The body was removed moved to Somerset Hospital for postmortem today. Miss Kalinowski's disappearance from her home at 1329 Green Street coincided with that of another Manville youth, 15-year-old James DePayne. Both youths were reported missing at 7 p.m. September 8th. So isn't that weird that they were both reported missing at the same time? I mean, jeez. A search was started the next day at 4:45 p.m. after a broken pair of eyeglasses and sandals, both believed to be Mrs. Kalinowski's, were found in a secluded area a short distance behind the girl's home. So it's almost like somebody attacked her by her home and then she was moved. Because it's not far away. It's right over here, right? Although she was seen standing right here at some point. But was that prior? So here's her home, and they say behind her home. Does that mean it was over here somewhere? Not really sure. So, let's see. It was found in a secluded area short distance behind the girl's home. Then now they're talking about DePayne. DePayne returned home the following night. So here's this kid, the other kid that went missing at the exact same time. He came home the following night, Friday, after calling his home from Rocky Hill. He said he spent Thursday night under an unfinished bridge at Weston Causeway. So I think that is... Let's see. I think it's right here. I think this might have been an unfinished bridge at the time. So he's like hanging out underneath the bridge there. And then it says something about, okay, unfinished bridge at Weston Causeway. And then Friday, walking along the railroad tracks to Rocky Hill about 10 miles. And if you look, there's that little bridge I was talking about. I don't know for sure if that's it, but then look, there's railroad tracks right there. And then those head this direction down here. And then Rock Hill's down here. It's somewhere. Let me just type that in. Yeah, so it's down here. So I think it kind of just makes sense. There's the railroad tracks. They keep going down there. And yeah, I mean, see, you're getting near Rock Hill right there. So apparently, I mean, but why was he doing that? Did they ever get an answer for why? Oh, wait, I think they do answer that. Let's see. Detective Sergeant Richard Dleski said that DePayne told him he saw he said he actually saw her too, though. Isn't that wild? He said he saw Miss Kalinowski Wednesday in a delicatessen on Dukes Parkway and that she was headed west towards Route 206. And so... There's 206 right there. And this is where she was last seen. So maybe she was heading from a delicatessen, towards 206, but that doesn't mean she wasn't going to be going home either. Okay, DePayne subsequently voluntarily underwent questioning while under hypnosis on September 13, and Dleski was quoted as saying, "I'm convinced the lad had no connection with the missing girl." He added that his opinion was shared by the hypnotist detective, Lieutenant Mario Dilio of Bridgewater. The search for the missing girl continued with 250 to 300 persons covering a wide area Saturday. Detectives and juvenile officers questioned all of the missing girl's friends and acquaintances. The mother of the missing girl, Mrs. Frank R. Kalinowski, was discharged from Somerset Hospital last Wednesday. She was admitted to the intensive care unit after her daughter's disappearance. I think a lot of you can, whenever you have a child or, hell, even a pet missing, you kind of freak out, right? Well, we're covering a bunch of different cases, though, so if you want to watch, you'll just not know anything about this one. Hey, thanks, Kit Kat and Lee D. So now they change it to some of the mystery surrounding the disappearance on September 8th of Gail Ann Kalinowski of Manville was lifted yesterday when an autopsy showed she drowned, apparently in the Raritan River when it was at flood stage. Her badly decomposed body was found Sunday in a floodplain, presumably left behind when high waters receded. Positive identification, according to Somerset County Assistant Prosecutor Raymond Trombador, was made comparing dental impressions. Trombador said the decomposed nature of her vital organs will make it impossible to conduct conclusive toxicology tests. He said the autopsy revealed no signs that the girl had been the victim of an attack. He said her clothing was intact, but he added that because the circumstances surrounding her disappearance, foul play has yet to be ruled out. He said the indication is that she died on the day of her disappearance. He said police will retrace their original investigation to try to follow the girl's path after she left her house at 8:07 on the night of her disappearance. That will involve talking again to acquaintances who saw her that night. DePayne, what month was this again? Yeah, so it's probably still light outside at the time. DePayne was missing overnight on September 8th, and the next day police have said his disappearance was coincidental. I mean, that's just so weird. You have two disappearing people that live that close to each other, and they're reported missing at the same time, and it's coincidental. Man, that's hard to believe, stuff like that. Her dentist, Dr. Oscar Sistrunk of Franklin, made the dental identification. Funeral services will be held tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. in the Kiyo and Warren Funeral Home. All right, so let me get off of that. So the following day, lost sandal, a clue to Gail's route. A police search for Gail Kalinowski's missing sandal is planned in the hope that it is discovered. Its discovery will help trace her movements on September 8th when she disappeared from her Manville home. Her body was found Sunday on a floodplain in the Raritan. Death was attributed to drowning. Her decomposed body was discovered about 1,000 yards from where the glasses and sandal were found. Except they never really tell you where those were found. None of this stuff. Sandal could become a link in her movements from a spot in the field where her broken glasses and one of her sandals were found. The glasses and other sandal were found about 200 yards from the girl's home at 1329 Green Street. Trombador said police can only theorize how the 13-year-old got into the river. He said the condition of her body indicated she drowned about the time she disappeared. He also said the Hillsborough Police Chief, Donald Douches. Again, where are the... I need some Johnsons and Smiths for a little bit here. Because the body was found in Hillsborough 25 to 50 feet west of Hillsborough boundary with Manville. I don't know... I don't think I have the boundaries for those, you know, like just town boundaries like that. Besides the search for the missing sandal, the investigation calls for, again, questioning all persons believed to have seen the teenage girl. Okay. So, we're moving on. We're getting through this one. Drowning now said a murder. Okay, so... Of course. I mean, it's just weird sometimes. Yes, you determined it was drowning, but she was probably drowned intentionally, and that's where this one then has a similarity to the case of Sophia in the same general area, too. After 7 months of concentrated investigation, Somerset County prosecutors today said that a 14-year-old Manville girl who 2 years ago was said to have drowned was in fact murdered at and the prosecutors believe they know who did it. First Assistant Prosecutor Leonard Arnold said yesterday he is absolutely certain that the girl Gail Kalinowski was murdered, and he added that his office has a suspect in the killing. This is back in 1971. So that's 49 years ago, and nope, nothing. The girl's badly decomposed body was found on September 26, 1971 on the south bank of the river near an area used by the Manville Bureau and the John Manville Company. Let's see where that is. I bet it's still there. Let's see. John's Manville. Is that it? No, it's too far away. So it was an area used by, let's see. Well, that one's not too far away there. And that's actually, well, you'd have to get in the water here. But that's a landfill area, recycling. And that's the only one that makes any sense, really. That's really close. But don't really know. I'd have to see a map at this point. They didn't describe it well enough. Is this interesting for you guys? I'm just checking in. I don't care if it is or not, because I'll still be doing it, but I'm just checking. So anyways, they determined it wasn't drowning. Girls drowning called a murder. So again, that also, they determined that. I mean, it's part 2 of the article. Yeah. Okay, so then we've got Gail Ann Kalinowski, 14. This is the write-up here. It says September 8, 1971, last seen at about 7:30 p.m. at the Parkway Deli on Dukes Parkway in Manville, which she left headed towards her home at 1329 Green Street along a path through a field bordering the Hillsborough, bordering on Hillsborough. Okay, I don't know what if Hillsborough is like a little, you know, like in the city you have a place called like Hillsdale. You know, it's not really the name of a city. It's just a little. I kind of wonder if that's what that is, but I don't think Google Earth has the line for that. At about 8 p.m., she responded to a telephone call. See, this is interesting because she was at home. She left, headed towards her home at 1329 Green Street. This is from the deli. And so I think she was abducted from near her home or inside the home and then killed, and then she was, she was dumped in the river and then washed up. That's why I was saying that earlier, because look at this. Just based on where the sandal and glasses were found, I think that means that she was in that area and then they found her at the river. So anyways, it says right here, she left the deli on Dukes Parkway. So this is... I think this is Dukes. Yeah, Dukes Parkway is right here. So there must have been a deli. I don't know where it would have been. Maybe down in here. She was last seen right there. Let's see if it looks like there's anything there anymore. It kind of just looks like homes. But who knows if back in the day there was a deli there or something. They could have completely... Well, let's just take a look even at Google Earth from 1995. How different is it right there? Oh, it's like totally different, yeah. So there might have been a store or something right around in this area back then. So she was headed towards her home at 1329 Green Street along a path through a field bordering on Hillsborough in order to get some money. So she went home to get some money. And so it sounds like she made it home because at 8 p.m. she responded to a telephone call from her aunt at her house. When her mother returned home at 8:30, so just 30 minutes after she responded to her aunt's phone call, Gail was gone. A pair of broken glasses and a sandal belonging to her was found about 200 yards from her home and 1,000 yards from where her body would be found. Her other scent, so that means between 8 and 8:30, somebody either chased her out or abducted her, something like that. Decomposing body was found September 26, 1971, near Manville Landfill off Dukes Parkway. So again, the landfill was off of Dukes Parkway here. So that's why I was thinking maybe the landfill was right around in there at one point. Let's see. Oh, there's a baseball field there, so that's not going to be where it was. There was this other article that... Well, let me finish this and then I'll pull up that other one. Decomposing body found September 26, 1971, near Manville Landfill. Detective Stephen Champy firmly convinced that it was a murder. Body could not have floated from the creek near the site of the disappearance to drainage canal where she was found. 1973, Assistant Prosecutor Leonard N. Arnold, absolutely certain that Kalinowski was murdered and had a suspect in mind, also stated there was evidence she had been assaulted prior to her death. So, I mean, that just sounds like a classic, like she was abducted. And this is 1971. It could have been one of those other serial killer types. But they seem like they know who it is. But that's 47 years ago, and there's never been an arrest or conviction. So let's see. This is the article, Manville Landfill Cold Case File. While researching the history of the Johns Manville Landfill, also known as the Dump, I also came across the story of Gail Ann Kalinowski. Two stories actually, but each with the same tragic ending. On September 8, 1971, Gail was reported missing from the Manville home. 18 days later, body of the 13-year-old 8th grader was found on the south bank of the Raritan River near the landfill. In 1971, it was unclear whether Gail was simply drowned. When the New York Times reported on the story a second time in October 73, this is when they said that it was definitely a homicide. Apparently there were some leads in the case. I know that some readers of this blog were about at the time, and a lot more about this then. I don't know where that is. It's weird. There must have been some murders that When they call it the dump, is that where bodies were dumped at one point? I have to check that out. The Manville landfill body dumps. Okay, so those are those two cases. And now moving on to the next one. Of course, I need something. I'm going to drink some Gatorade now for a little bit. Hey, thanks, Sarah M. What are you guys saying about Georgia? They might have the votes counted up. Is that what you're saying? Here, let me just do a quick a halftime break here of the... I just want to see what we're looking at really quick. See, look how close Georgia got. Look at that. Now it's only 29,000 votes. It was 300,000 last night. And now there's still 2% left. I wouldn't be shocked at all if it, if they figure out a way to make it so it's in Biden's camp, right? Then Nevada here, they haven't done anything on that. That's important. Arizona here, they're still trying to... Republicans still think that they might be able to switch that back. It keeps getting smaller. Like it was 150,000, now it's 70-something with still 14%, but it was at 150,000 at 70-something percent. So if they keep up that pace, I definitely can see what they're talking about. Pennsylvania, though, look at Pennsylvania, too. You remember last night when we went... I think this one also has a chance. Because what's crazy is when we went to sleep last night, he was up 700,000 votes with 62% in. Now 27 more came in, and he's lost 500,000... I mean, like 550,000 of that. And there's still 11% left. So that means, man, that's just not good news, Yeah, freaking nightmare. Who are all the idiots that actually... That drives me nuts. Anyways, yeah. It just gets more dicier and dicier this whole time. Look how close that is right there. Yeah, everybody did. Okay. The only people who didn't think the election was going to be close was the media, and it was supposed to be a blowout. Okay. People that were following what was going on didn't think that. Okay, I'm moving on now. I'm going to get off of that. It stresses me out. All right, next one doesn't have as much information. This one is Eleanor Sophie Lynch, so has the same middle name as the first name. Wait, what does that do? Interesting. Okay, so Iselin mom's killer sought. This story here, it should have had a hell of a lot more information, and the guy even comments on that. There just wasn't a lot of coverage on this. But it seems like it would have been in the media. Don't you think? Well, I guess you wouldn't know because I haven't told you anything about it yet. So here we go. A man police called a psychopathic killer and a possible accomplice were being sought today for the frenzied slaying of a 27-year-old Iselin mother. That's a town. The dead mother, blonde Mrs. Eleanor Lynch of 153 Cooper Avenue in Iselin, was found yesterday. So let's just show you where that is first. So none of these are really, way far away from anywhere. They're all pretty close. So that's where she lived in that nice, it's probably, I don't know if it looks more like an apartment. Right there. Are you guys ready for me to get on to this? No, the people that voted against Trump were delusionally believed what the media said was true about him. So they wanted change of something that didn't actually exist. That's the crazy part about it. So anyways, I'm going to get on to the news stories now. All right? Okay, cool. So here we go. The Iselin mom's killer is sought. A man police called a psychopathic killer and a possible accomplice were being sought today for the frenzied slaying of a 27-year-old Iselin mother. The dead woman, blonde Miss Eleanor Lynch of 153 Cooper Avenue, Iselin, was found yesterday in an incinerator room of the Cromwell Terrace Apartments. She had been stabbed 62 times in the back and side, choked with a necktie, and her nearly nude body was tied to a steam pipe. Isn't that crazy? I mean, just listen to that again. She'd been stabbed 62 times. This isn't even anywhere near where she lives. I think she was abducted and brought down into this. I mean, this sounds like something right out of a horror movie. Okay, into a steam room, like an incinerator room. Just like I'm picturing it being really steamy and hot, and like where they throw all the trash and. She had been stabbed 62 times in the back and her side, choked with a necktie, and her nearly nude body was tied to a steam pipe. The time of death was fixed at 4 a.m. yesterday, about 2 hours after Mrs. Lynch disappeared from her job as a night desk clerk at the Dixie Motel in Route 1, Woodbridge. Police did not say what led them to believe a second man was involved in the slaying. About $90 was missing from a cash drawer at the motel, and the television set was gone. Miss Lynch's handbag was still there. What do you mean motel? Why would there be a motel? That's her apartment. Here from her job. Oh, no, she's a clerk at the motel. That's right. Okay. Miss Lynch, mother of 3, has been separated from her husband. Okay, so I actually have these locations. So this is where she worked at a motel sort of in this area. They didn't give an address, but it was mentioned near this town on this highway. So I'm just saying it's in that area. And then where she was found, okay, let me show you where she lived. So she lives right here. And it makes sense that she worked here because she lived there, worked in this area, but then she was found all the way up in the incinerator room of this spooky ass looking apartment complex right here. How crazy is that, huh? A man police described as a psychopathic killer. I think that sounds almost like the other article, but it's not the same article. Or is it? Well, it looks like they used part of it. Let me go down here. The time of death was fixed at 4 a.m. yesterday by police. This was about 2 hours after Mrs. Lynch disappeared from her place of work, the Dixie Motel on Route 1. Police said $90 was missing. Miss Lynch was wearing only a white sweater and blouse when her body was discovered. There was a necktie knotted around her neck, and each of her hands was tied to the pipe with a necktie. Man, that's just freaking... That's right out of a horror movie. Essex County Medical Examiner Dr. Edwin Albano said death was caused by the stab wounds, that the strangling was not a factor. So I think, he was probably strangling her, sexually assaulting her, and then, this is a serial killer type person in this one, right? This is like... rage against something else, there's definitely not some, I don't think that she ever did something to this person, in my mind. I think it's, the whole thing is just crazy. Tied to pipes in an incinerator room, stabbed 62 times. And then I think her sweater, they said, was underneath her upper part of her body. The body, as discovered by Sam Murray, custodian of the 5-story 42-unit Cromwell Terrace apartment. Miss Lynch, a mother of 3, had been separated from her husband, Edward, whose whereabouts was unknown, police said. See, you might think that he did something, but I think they found out that he was in maybe California or something. Matchbooks scattered on the basement floor with Miss Lynch clothing gave police the lead to her identity. The matches bore advertising for Woodridge Diner. When police called the establishment, they were told that Miss Lynch was missing from the nearby Dixie Motel. The woman subsequently was identified by her father. And let's see, the partly nude body of 27-year-old Iselin woman was found yesterday in the basement of a large apartment house in the city's Forest Hill section. The murder victim was identified as Miss Eleanor S. Lynch. Miss Lynch, a blonde, was brutally stabbed and was found lying face down on a rug pad in the incinerator room of a building at 372 Mount Prospect Avenue. Most of her clothes were strewn around her, and a necktie was wrapped around her throat. Her hands had been tied to a pipe about 6 inches above the floor with 2 other neckties. So she had a necktie around her neck and then 2 other neckties. You know, they might want to look around. Maybe he's like a necktie killer. I mean, why would he use 3 different neckties? That seems kind of strange. Might have to look around to see if there's anybody else with that same MO out there. Although that's a kind of a common item used. And don't forget, everybody, we are starting a new month. We're quite a ways behind. Again, each month has been going backwards a little bit. But I'm still trying to get the same number at the end for donations. So, yes, we are still raising funds for the end of the month and to support my channel. And like I always say, sometimes just pretend I'm a cup of coffee. All right? Never hurt anybody. Yeah, you'd think he would have known the building. He could have lived there, though. It was a pretty huge apartment building. But that would be kind of stupid, too, right? I mean, look how many people would live here. Probably hundreds of people. I want to just look at that. That looks spooky just looking at it. Doesn't look quite as bad like that, but... Yeah, see? Cup of coffee. Thanks, Julie. What's going on, Chloe? Sometimes he doesn't want to play, okay? Jesus. She's just... Chloe's great, though. She's just so goofy. Thanks, Kubacek. Let's see. The only clothes she wore were a blouse and a sweater. That's so crazy, though. It's tied with a necktie around her neck, and then 2 neckties tied her wrist to a pipe that was 6 inches above the ground. And she was stabbed 62 times in the back. So was she stabbed 62 times in the back, then propped up, and then tied against the pipe? I mean, God, what a nightmare. God. That's one of the sickest things I ever heard. I mean, just think how absolutely terrifying that would have been. Hey, thanks, Sarah M. She worked there as a night desk clerk. Because they found out where she worked based on the matchbook. The custodian of the 5-story apartment building, Samuel Murray, found the body. Only one tenant recalled hearing anything out of the ordinary. A first-floor resident told police she heard several screams shortly after midnight. Again, we're back into the horror movie. But thought it was a quarrel in one of the apartments. The ties used to bind the woman's hands were taken, oh, there we go, from an old clothing storage bin in the basement. You know, I was kind of wondering if there was a laundry room down there when I said that originally. I wonder what a clothing storage bin, maybe when you just missed, people lose something and you throw it in there. So they just, God. That's just an absolutely crazy story. She was basically abducted from where she worked, taken to this hotel, this apartment building, into the incinerator room, tied to a pipe. Her pants, I guess, were removed. Both hands were tied to a pipe that was 6 inches off the ground. She was stabbed 62 times, and that's what killed her. But she also was strangled with a necktie, and then also had neckties that tied her hands to the pipes But the necktie that were used were actually found down in the laundry room. Or like a laundry, I don't know what that really means, like a bin down there. All right, so here is the write-up on it. That's her right there. Eleanor Sophia Lynch, 1964. Isn't this just nuts? All these cases going on over here. Just absolutely brutal. Multiple stab wounds to both sides of her chest. This is a breakdown of it. Penetrating both lungs, bilateral hemothorax, stab wounds of lower back. Penetrating the liver. Forensic characteristics. Victim was abducted shortly after 12:30 a.m. And so remember the other victim heard screams at around midnight, so maybe. From a place of work. She worked at a motel office. And so that, that's just weird. It is weird because, you'd have to almost have knowledge of that there's a basement area that you could take somebody. Transported in a perpetrator's vehicle. So she was abducted from her workplace at the motel. Transported there in the perpetrator's vehicle to an apartment building boiler room. She was found face down on a rug pad. The victim's green-colored coat was lying under the upper part of her body, and a coverless pillow was on the floor near the victim's head. Hands tied separately to pipe situated about 6 to 8 inches above the floor by neckties taken from old clothes storage box in the basement. Man's shirt and necktie. Man's shirt and necktie tied around face. Wow, so that means almost like he had a pillow underneath her. She was, her face was put into the pillow so that she couldn't scream, probably held it down. Then he also had a shirt around her head, and then he tied her neck to keep the thing on her face still. Wow. Man's shirt and necktie tied around her face, according to media reports. Dress and sweater raised to the neck, and she was wearing a bra. Undergarments, shoes, stockings scattered on the floor. 62 stab wounds to chest, back, and side, inflicted by 2.5-inch pocket knife blade. $93 and a TV set missing from the motel. The night of Sunday through Monday. No report of penetrative rape. I don't know. How's that possible? Time of death was estimated at 4 a.m. So now that screaming thing, I don't know. Doesn't sound right. So she was down there with that guy for a long time. 3 hours being tortured. Because it doesn't take that long to drive there, I don't think. This is one of the worst ones I've ever covered on this ever. It's just... Yeah, it's only 15 miles. So if she was abducted at 12:30, she would have been there not, within a half hour minimum, or most, at the most. So she was found at 7 a.m., so just 3 hours after she was killed. The door to the basement and boiler room was usually kept unlocked, according to the custodian who discovered her body. Almost makes you think. I was actually thinking originally that it was a custodian there who did this. But, you know, because how would you, if it was locked, you'd need a key to get in there, and then you would lock it again, and you would feel fairly certain that nobody else would be showing up. And you'd only know that if you were a custodian, right? Employed as a desk clerk at Dixie Motel on Route 1 in Woodbridge, where she was last seen early Monday morning at 12:30 a.m. at Next Door Diner. Remnants of takeout diner found on the desk in motel office, along with the victim's purse and identification. Her car found in the parking lot at the motel. So she's definitely abducted right in the middle of eating. It's almost like the person, let's see, Monday morning, 12:30 a.m. at employed at desk clerk at Dixie Motel on Route 1 in Woodbridge, where she was last seen early morning, 12:30 a.m. at Next Door Diner. And that's not capitalized, so I think it means right next door to where she worked. Remnants of takeout diner found on the desk. So what if somebody saw her at the diner? And then, I don't know. And they just sort of, watched her go into the motel. And I don't know. Her car was found in the parking lot of the motel. Resided at 153 Cooper Street. Estranged husband Edward Lynch, 29, determined to have been living in California since October 1963 and residing there at the time of the murder. So he'd had nothing to do with it. The case oddly unreported in the newspapers. I totally agree. This story here seems like one they would have covered 1,000 times. This is one of the creepiest, freakiest stories I've ever seen. What do you guys think? I mean, we hear of all these other stories, but man, the information and the description of what was going on down there, it's unbelievable. Okay, well, that was it for, that's all there was. And that's right, there was only 3 articles that I could find. And so now we're going to move on to a 1965 case, the year I was born. That just shows you how freaking old this stuff is. I don't know, Gene. They're always trying to, like, profile everybody. I think, who knows what the guy is, all right? I wonder if there's a way to get more information on that one. I'd like to have, like, the actual police report. I wonder if that's something, if I called over there, since it's so old, if they would just be like, sure, here it is. All right, so now we're on to another case. This is Anne Rubinstein and Mae Rubinstein, 12. So it's her mother, 41-year-old, and her daughter, 12. Okay, here we go. A mother and her 12-year-old daughter were savagely murdered in their modest 2-story home in 437 South 3rd Avenue, Highland Park, yesterday. And Gene, I'm not saying you're not right. It's just, who knows, right? If you're right, it's just pure luck. The victims were Miss Anne Rubinstein, about 42 years old, and her daughter, Mae. Middlesex County Prosecutor Edward J. Dolan said it was definitely a case of double homicide, and that from all indications, Miss Rubinstein and the girl had been stabbed. The weapon was recovered, he said, and it could not be determined immediately what type it was. It was not recovered. The gruesome discovery of the bodies was made around 3 p.m. The Rubinsteins occupy the first floor of the house, while the second floor is rented to a family whose names were not immediately available. I know, Gene. I just like flipping you crap. Because you always get really specific without any qualifications like, yeah, I wonder if he was impotent, or it's like you make a statement as if it's fact. There's a couple people that I know that do that. The gruesome discovery of the bodies was made around 3 p.m. The Rubinsteins occupy the first floor of the house, while the second floor is rented to a family whose names were not immediately available. Dolan said Miss Rubinstein's body lay in a foyer leading to a bedroom, while Mae was in the kitchen. Who found the bodies could not be immediately ascertained. Highland Park Police and Dr. Joseph Dolan of the Edison, is there any more down here? Edison were the first on the scene. Dolan told the Home News it was definitely a case of death by violence, adding it will be up to the medical examiners to determine it. The husband and father, Robert, who was listed as a building contractor, was called and collapsed in the house. He was immediately taken to the home of friends. Man, what a nightmare. Jeez. Borough police started an immediate house-to-house canvass of the area's quiet three-line streets. They were seeking information from anyone who might have seen strangers in the area, and who were also searching in bushes and near porches, presumably for the murder weapon. One officer was overheard to say, "This is the worst I've ever seen," referring to the conditions of the bodies. There is a second child in the family, Elihu, and about 16, who is a Highland Park high school student. Mae was a 6th grade student in Lafayette School in the borough. Neighbors said she was to have attended a birthday last night in a home close to hers. All during the time police were at the scene and until the Jackie Funeral Home in Highland Park took the bodies away at 6 p.m., neighbors and friends of Miss Rubinstein and the girl gathered in groups, stunned by the tragedy. Many wept openly. The Rubinsteins, from all indications, were popular in the borough. They were said to be a fine, quiet, decent family. They have resided in the South 3rd Avenue address for about 12 or 13 years. And look at that. There's the house right there, right? And watch. This thing hasn't changed one bit. Looks like... I mean, it's amazing to have something 55 years old like that. And you just load these two watch this, I'll put it side by side here. It's just literally, I mean, it literally hasn't even, not even the one next door to it. But look at that. So that house is exactly the same. Looks like there was one extra window back then. See? This is a little different here. It had like a sunroom. Same steps, brick wall there. All the windows, everything's the same on the side. So it is still there. And you'd think somebody would just tear that sucker down and start over again. I mean, my God, you get a gruesome killing like that. The great grim task of searching out clues and motives in the brutal, senseless killing of a Highland Park mother and her 11-year-old daughter murders, described by the county medical examiner, William C. Willents, as the work of a sadist, continued today. See, that's what, basically they're talking about a serial killer at that time when they say shit like that. Continued today, but authorities admit admitted they were making little progress. An around-the-clock investigation by the county prosecutor, Edwin J. Dolan, staff, and borough authorities, which began when the multi-stab bodies of Mrs. Ann Rubinstein, 42, and her daughter Mae were found at 12:30 p.m. Saturday in their home at 437 South 3rd Avenue, has so far yielded nothing tangible. Officials have talked with relatives and with neighbors. They have searched through garbage and refuse cans and through brush for the murder weapon, but the mystery surrounding the double slaying that has shocked the Twin County area remains undented. Let me see. Mae, a 6th grade student at Lafayette School in the borough, was home alone in the first floor apartment of a 2-story frame building. So down here, obviously. Her mother had gone shopping. So this is what's sick about, the whole thing's sick, but I think somebody was watching, and the mother went to go shopping. And then the father, Robert, was he's working at the Star Lumber Company with which he is associated. Rubinstein had conducted a construction business prior to going with the Highland Park Company. With him at work was his son, Elihu, 16. Why was he with him, though? So anyways, he's gone. The mother went shopping. So left alone at home is the 12-year-old girl. Miss Diane O'Connor, 20, and her stepfather, Harry Rosenhaus, were in the 2nd floor apartment. Miss Rosenhaus is hospitalized and heard noise downstairs around 2:30. Miss O'Connor told police she had no attention, thinking it was either Mae or Elihu entertaining friends. Around 2:30 p.m., Maurice Feller, a 9-year-old nephew of Miss Rubinstein's, who lives in South 4th Avenue in the borough, dropped by for a glass of water. He saw Mrs. Rubinstein lying in a pool of blood in a foyer leading to bedrooms and the living room. The little girl was in the kitchen, but apparently Maurice did not see her. Maurice ran upstairs and told Miss O'Connor, "Something has happened to my aunt. She is bleeding." Miss O'Connor checked and, realizing that it was more than an accident, called police. Among the first at the scene were Detective Lieutenant William Cuddy and Police Sergeant Michael Borden. Determining it was a homicide, they notified the prosecutor's office, and detectives I'm not even going to pronounce that. Investigator Charles Amick joined the probe. Smalley said the investigation so far shows that Mae died first and that Miss Rubinstein, returning from a shopping trip in the city and in the borough, walked in on the tragedy. She was the next to be killed, but did not die without offering resistance. Smalley said there were scuffle marks on the foyer floor. Miss Rubinstein still had a heavy coat on, and at her side were her purse and 3 loaves of bread. Man, what a freaking nightmare. She had just purchased. Authorities immediately began a house-to-house canvass, asking residents if they had seen anyone in the neighborhood. Several kitchen knives are being given laboratory tests. Rubinstein was called at work by Miss O'Connor and told that there was an emergency in the home. Young Elihu remained at the lumber company. Rubinstein collapsed when he reached home. He and the son went to the home of friends. Police are checking out a report that Mae was talking on the telephone with a girlfriend during the afternoon. They have been told that Mae said, "I've got to hang up now. My mother's here." She probably thought it was her mother, but it was somebody else coming on. They also have told that the friend heard Miss Rubinstein ask Mae to hang up. Oh, that's interesting. So that means when she got home, there was... So the guy followed her in but killed the daughter first? That's the only way that makes sense. Like why would she be on the phone having a normal call with a friend, and then the mother comes in? That means they're both okay right at that second, although there might be somebody right behind the mom. Man, that's confusing right there. Miss Rubinstein, born December 31st, 1922, daughter of Michael and Celia Carbus, was a member of the Highland Park Conservative Temple. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next one. So this is about a week later. This actually has a map. I thought that was pretty cool that they put that in the paper. I mean, that's actually out of the paper from 50-something years ago. Pretty clear. So there's her car. I mean, we can look at it like this. Look how cool that is to be able to do that. So there's the building right there, the house, and then there's the driveway right on the side of the house right there. There's the porch right there. You walk up the porch. Living room's the first thing that's in there. Then I guess in the kitchen is where her body was found. And then the mother is right here. Then there's a couple bedrooms. And then I guess these are probably the stairs that lead up to the second floor where the other people live. And that was part of this article right here, I think. Wearing off. The terrible incident that brought the change. Little Mae Rubinstein was alone in the apartment. Her mother was shopping. So this article's from 65. It's just a week later. So it began at 12:30 p.m. a week ago yesterday. Little Mae Rubinstein was alone in the apartment. Her mother was shopping, and her father, Robert, and their 16-year-old son was at work with him. As police reconstruct the crime, the child, a sixth grader, in Lafayette School, was stabbed to death in the kitchen. There were 15 stab wounds. Mrs. Rubinstein, 42, returned home from shopping. So maybe they've discounted that phone call. At about 12:30 p.m., she got out of her car and walked into the apartment carrying several packages. There she was met by the killer. Scuff marks in the foyer indicated she struggled furiously, but she died under a rain of 30 blows from the frenzied murderer. Sometime between 12:30 and 2:30 p.m., when the murders were discovered, the killer closed the apartment door and walked out of the house. Nobody saw him. Jeez. His trail goes no further, and dog-tired detectives working 18 to 20 hours are doing their best to pick it up. Yeah, so there's nothing, still no answers. The Rubinstein's murder investigation went into its 10th day. Detectives from the Highland Park Police and Dolan office are trying to trace the killer of Miss Ann Rubinstein, 42, and her daughter, Mae, 11, who were stabbed to death. During the 3-day Washington birthday weekend, all 16 detectives and investigators from the prosecutor's office were assigned to the case. And now we've got this other thing where investigators are conferring today to determine whether Highland Park Rubinstein's murder and the slaying Friday of Fair Lawn student nurse were committed by the same knife-wielding killer. Prosecutor Edward J. Dolan confirmed yesterday that he or members of his staff plan to meet with Bergen County Prosecutor Guy W. Calisi on the cases that bear marked similarities. In both cases, the frenzied murderer plunged a knife into the victim repeatedly and with no outward motive. The killer struck during afternoon hours, and in both crimes found the victim alone. In neither case was there any indication of forced entry into the dwelling, nor any attempt to rob it. And the neighborhoods where the victims lived are similar. The Highland Park killer, who escaped without a trace, struck on February 13th. His victims were Miss Ann Rubinstein, 42, and her 11-year-old daughter, Mae. Both were found in their apartment at 437 South 3rd Avenue. Shortly after 2:30 p.m., Mrs. Rubinstein had been stabbed 30 times, and her daughter, a 6th grader, 15 times. Slain brutally by the Fair Lawn murder was 18-year-old Jean Eberhardt, a student nurse at Hackensack Hospital, who had stopped home on her way to attend an aunt's funeral. An autopsy showed that the girl had been stabbed 60 times, although death was attributed to a double skull fracture caused by blows from a blunt instrument. See, I mean, that's crazy. This one here almost sounds like the first one. I mean, the one, not the first one, but the 60 stab wounds. It's very similar to Eleanor Lynch, I think, was her name, right? Yeah. Eleanor Lynch, and her case is 64. I mean, 60 stab wounds. That's the same, almost the exact same number as the girl that was killed in the incinerator room. An autopsy showed that the girl had been stabbed 60 times, although death was attributed to a double skull fracture. So that means the wounds were mortal to her head. I don't know if they can definitely... I mean, I guess you could say if the stab wounds, the bleeding... I mean, what are they saying then? That she was stabbed when she was dead? Or that none of the stab wounds would have killed her? That seems like a hard one for them to determine. I'm sure out of 60 stab wounds, some of those had to have been hit fatal organs. Detectives working on the Rubinstein case learned that little Mae Rubinstein was alone when the killer arrived at 12:30 p.m. Mrs. Rubinstein reached the house shortly thereafter from a shopping trip and was knifed to death. Their bodies were discovered at about 2:30 p.m. The child was found in the kitchen, and her mother in the foyer leading to the side door used generally by the family. Several weeks following the Rubinstein slaying, Dolan said that all indications were that the killer was a psychopath. The prosecutor said it was possible that the murderer lived in Highland Park, but he said his investigators had not ruled out the possibility that the slayer was a stranger just passing through the borough. Trying to see where that side door they're talking about is. I don't know if that's what they're saying that is, but I don't see anything like that in that old picture. So the write-up in that article, kind of a synopsis. So, child Mae stabbed 15 times with death caused by severing the jugular vein. Anne was stabbed 35 times, not 30. Double murder in home. No penetrative sexual assault reported. Mae Rubinstein. Hey, thanks, Lee D. Man, it's getting way slower in the chats these days. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just, like I was saying, I'm going to, at the end of the month, I might only, instead of doing 2,500, I'll just, if I can do 500 or 1,000 like we used to do, that'd be good. I was so pumped. I was thinking, God, man, wouldn't that be? I could donate $100,000 in 5 years, but that's just, it's too much. Can't do it. Plus, it's stressful always having to keep up the. Yeah, there's a lot of Jewish people live in New York, New Jersey. Yeah. No, it wasn't an early hate crime. It's a serial killer. You can just tell. She was left alone in the house while Mother Ann was shopping. Ann was slain in the front foyer leading to the bedroom when she returned home, probably after Mae was murdered in the kitchen. Victims were stabbed in the neck, face, chest by a long blade kitchen knife. Ann was still wearing heavy wool coat and groceries were found on the floor. Scuff marks were visible on the floor. More than $100 were found at the scene and nothing appeared to be stolen. Murdered on Saturday between 12:30 and 2:30 in the first floor apartment. Bodies discovered at 12:30 by a nephew visiting. Bodies removed from the scene by a funeral home at 6 p.m. Crazy times. Yeah. Maybe. It was 55 years ago. So the other case that they compared it to is the next one here. And this is what she looks, that's her right there. Okay. A girl without enemies. Anybody but Alice. I can't believe it. It's a horrible thing. I can't believe it. This is amazing. I really can't believe it. Friends and neighbors of pretty Alice Jean Eberhardt found stabbed to death in her home yesterday afternoon. Heard the news, heard the word murder, and insisted it couldn't be true. There you go, Zozo. Ah, Jesus. And the little psychedelic mushroom. What? She's just like Chloe. I mean, Chloe, Zozo, Zoe, whatever, and Mary Lou. They're all the same people. She was the girl who sang in the nurses' chorus. Well, I guess Chloe's a dog, but she was a girl who sang in the nurses' chorus in South Pacific, sang in the choir. I just talked to her last night, said Mrs. Bernard. She was a close friend of my daughter. She told me how much she liked nursing school. She was as cheerful, exuberant, it's horrible. She was the girl with brown hair, dancing brown eyes, tall and very beautiful. Her home was the place to go for a party. I don't know of anyone she didn't get along with. She had no prejudices. She always looked for the best in everyone. Alice wanted very much to be a nurse, he said. She told me often how great it would be to help people. If someone was in trouble or had a problem, she was always eager to help. Hey, thanks, Daddy-O. You could always a straight answer from her. She liked musicians, people who created things that were rich and lively. The friend spoke of her death with amazement. That's kind of a stupid word to use, you know. She had no enemies, said Marlene Barker of 1513 Eberlin Drive, a freshman at Patterson State College. She was bouncy, cheerful, all those kinds of things. Anybody but Alice. She was the last person anyone thought would be killed. I don't think most people think anybody's going to be killed when you're young. An 18-year-old Fairlawn student nurse, Alice Jean Eberhardt, was found stabbed to death last night in her expensive suburban home. The partially clothed body of the tall, slim girl, a June graduate of Fairlawn High School, was discovered by her father, Ross W. Eberhardt, when he returned home from work shortly after 5:30 p.m. According to Guy W. Calisi, Bergen prosecutor, Miss Eberhardt had been stabbed repeatedly by a large kitchen knife, which was found in a vital part of her body, which had been stripped to the waist. Police said she had been stabbed in the throat and elsewhere. Speaking at police headquarters last night, Calisi said Miss Eberhardt had been killed when he... Then he paused and added murdered. She had obviously been beaten, he continued, and that, by the looks of the house, the struggle had taken place in more than one room. So, man, she was really fighting for her life, struggling. There was no immediate evidence of sexual assault, he said, but an autopsy will be performed. Calisi said the house, a sprawling red and white brick and frame structure, showed no signs of forced entry, and it wasn't known whether anything had been taken. We're still groping, he said. Let's see, I think I have... I don't know if I have her house. I know this is the nursing school. She went to the Hackensack. I think it's at the same place as the medical school there. And, let's see. I think that's her boyfriend right there. Hey, thanks, Darlene. About 12 neighbors and friends were questioned last night, including Louis Hemley, 17, Miss Eberhardt's boyfriend. MZ, a guitarist in a local rock and roll band, The Sparkles. Ironically, Miss Eberhardt would not have been home but for a death in the family in Oswego, New York. Between 2 and 4:30 p.m., she signed out of Hackensack School of Nursing after receiving permission to attend the Oswego funeral. She had lived at this school since Labor Day, when she entered with the freshman class. It is believed she was home alone, waiting for her father to pick her up for the trip to the state of New York. Neighborhood said her mother, Jean, and older sister, Susan, 21, had gone to Oswego. Another sister, wow, isn't that crazy? She's home to go to a funeral, and now they're going to have to plan a funeral for her because she was killed while waiting to get a ride to go to a funeral. Why is that a... What are you talking about? Hackensack is just a word. It's the name of the town. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know if it means something in Australia, but it doesn't have any meaning over here other than it's a town. The family moved to Fairlawn in 1940s and lived across the municipal building on the site of the library about to be built. 2 years ago, they moved to their present home, according to the girl's friend. So it's just weird. I mean, it does seem really similar, actually, to the previous case. I see why they're thinking that. She's home alone, just like the daughter was in the previous case, right? Mae. So Mae was home alone. This guy goes into the house, stabs her to death, but the mom comes home and then she gets killed too. And that could have just been in this case. He noticed that she was home alone, that Alice was home alone, and then, or Alice, I'm not sure how you pronounce Alys, but then went in there and killed her, and another fury, just 60 blows with a knife. Crazy. Let's see. Anything else in here? No. Still no clues. Stabbed and beaten to death September 24th at her home on Saddle River Road. Let's see where that is. Yeah, it's just all right around this area. That's where she went to nursing. And then somewhere on this road right here. I mean, it could be all the way down even into here. I'm sure it's a nice neighborhood though. So look at this craziness here now. Friday, September 24th, 1965. This article is from 66. September 24th, 1965 was a coldish, rainy day. The light rain that began falling in the afternoon continued into dusk. For Ross Eberhardt, the day will live in sad memory. Eberhardt rushed a little on the way home from his latest job as a painting contractor. He was due in Oswego, New York that night. What he saw as he opened the door at his comfortable home, and there it is, 334 Saddle River Road. Let me see. It's hard to know though because it says 3-34. I don't know if that's a typo or. I mean, let me see if that's something that exists. Yeah, it's the same thing. Alice Eberhardt, his 18-year-old daughter, lay crumbled on the living room floor. She had been repeatedly stabbed at least 60 times with 2 knives. One was embedded in her throat. The other lay beside the body. The murderer had also fractured her skull before he fled the neat white ranch home. When police arrived, they found the is that a ranch home we're looking at? don't think you... I don't know. That doesn't qualify as a ranch home, does it? I thought those were only one story. Wow. When police arrived, they found the father still wearing the white clothes of his calling, a painting contractor. He was completely stunned by the tragedy. Father and daughter were due to leave together the next day. Let's see. Of the two knives used in the sadistic slaying, one was a kitchen knife, the other an ornate knife used as a letter opener. So that's actually the weapon used. The scabbard of the knife was not found in the home, and police are certain its owner still has it or has disposed of it. An extensive search was made for the uncommon scabbard, but it is still missing. 3 days after Alice was found dead, the police had questioned over 100 friends and acquaintances of the girl. None had the key. Oh, there's the house right there, right? And that still says it has dash in there again. 3-34. Let me check something. That could just be a newer house, I guess. That one looks like it's been there because of that fireplace. Nobody makes those. That's from the 50s. In my opinion. And so it looks like there's another house next to it. And that doesn't even look the same. Yeah. Saddle River Road. It says 3-34. Whatever the hell that means. Okay. Okay, an intensive search was made for this uncommon scabbard. 3 days after Alice was found dead, the police had questioned over 100 friends and acquaintances of the girl. None had the key to the solution. Police did establish the fact that a young man had spoken to Alice by phone at 4:15 that fatal Friday afternoon. Between that phone call and the arrival of her father at 6, see, another one of those weird, I mean, doesn't it seem strange, too, that the mother came home in the other case, and then the father came home, and there's this little window of time when a killer got in there. It is very similar. Between that phone call and the arrival of her father at 6 p.m., Alice had met with sadistic death. A year has passed since the girl died, and the case is not closed. Friends who had remembered the girl longing for a nursing career met to establish an Alice Eberhardt Nursing Scholarship Fund. That's cool. Two years have passed since 18-year-old Alice Jean Eberhardt was beaten and stabbed 61 times at her sprawling home at 3-34 Saddle River Road. The murder is still unknown. Let me try something else up here. No, it's still there. Looks the same since 95. Just doesn't look like that picture in the paper. Let's see. 2 years have passed. Since September 24th, 1965, police have investigated hundreds of clues, traveled thousands of miles. To police chief, this is a second-year anniversary here. We haven't eliminated any suspects. Ross Eberhardt found the body of his youngest daughter in the den about 5:30 p.m., partly nude with stab wounds in the breast and neck. Medical examiners say death was caused by severe blows. Bureau detectives Robert Van... I wonder what the blows were caused by. Did they ever find that? Even Richard Speck, the Chicago man who killed 8 nurses, is still considered the possible murderer. They hope to interrogate him. That's interesting. I always think of that guy, Speck, whenever a nurse is killed like that. Since there was no sign of a forced entry, police also still theorize that the murderer was a close friend. This makes it a most difficult investigation. A close friend, huh? In fact, her home was a meeting place for former classmates. The fear that gripped the neighborhood. 2 knives stabbed 60 times and a crazy... I don't know about that. And the knife was actually purchased in New York. Right here, like right in this area, there was a store. I can't remember if it was like a Middle Eastern store, and that's where that knife, and only 1,000 of them had been purchased. A series of strange coincidences in 3 unsolved North Jersey stabbings could tie together these seemingly unrelated murders. Alice Jean Eberhardt, 18, stabbed 61 times, skull fractured in living room of her Fair Lawn home on Saddle River Road. Joan Carroll Freeman, 22, I don't think I have that one, throat slashed, head crushed at Hoffman... No, I think I do have that. That's the next one I'm doing. Crushed in Hoffman LaRoche Pharmaceutical Plant in Clifton. And then the Alexander Messier, 46, stabbed to death as he rescued his daughter Linda, 20, from an assailant in the garage of his Paquanac home. So he went in there to save his daughter, who was being attacked, and then he got killed, and then the person ran away. Officials see no connection between the stabbings and the strangulations, but Bergen and Morris County authorities are checking these unusual ties in the 3 stabbings. All 3 victims frequented 4 Patterson lounges. Interesting. The Messier and Eberhardt families lived in Fair Lawn, a block and a half apart, for 6 years, from 1952 to 57. The Messiers moved to Totowa in 1957, and Linda attended Passaic Valley High School, where she was a year behind Joan Carroll Freeman. The Freeman family lived in West Patterson, a half-mile from a beauty salon where Linda Messier later worked. While in high school, the girls had many mutual friends, and they knew each other. One mutual friend dated Linda and is like a son to the Messier. In high school, he was a classmate of Joan Freeman's, and she helped him with his homework. He said both girls frequented 3 Patterson lounges. About a week after Messier's slaying, he reportedly was approached by a man matching the description of a suspect in the 2 other knife slayings. The man got out of a car and began to approach him, started to say something, then changed his mind, got back into the car, and quickly drove away. A Bergen County authority said Alice Eberhardt visited a lounge where her boyfriend played in a rock and roll band. The Messier and Freeman girls frequented the same lounge. In another coincidence, it isn't being overlooked by investigators. Or it's another coincidence, but it's not being overlooked. In any 3 In any three lives, there could be a meaningless interaction, but when all three people are murder victims, officials look for a pattern. There are similarities in all three stabbings. Unlocked doors and easy access are common in each case. The possibility that the killer was waiting to ambush his victim exists in all three cases. The Eberhardt's doors usually was unlocked. We think very definitely the killer was waiting inside for the girl. An investigator said there were indications she was hit as she entered the house. Linda Messier was attacked after she drove her car into the family's garage. The girl was slashed on the arm before her father intervened. It is possible for an outsider to gain access to the Hoffman LaRoche plant. Joan Freeman killer could have again been waiting. That's all you have to do there. Walk right in, said an investigator. Alright, so this is, the breakdown on the Alice case is the double skull fracture with a blunt object to the right side of her head. Student nurse left dormitory at Hackensack Hospital School of Nursing at 2:30 p.m. to go home and found it at her home in the living room by her father at 5:30 p.m. No sign of forced entry. Attack began in the bedroom, upstairs, and progressed down the stairs into the living room den. Murdered Friday between 4:15 and 5:15. She was stabbed 60 times after she was dead with an 18-inch knife in the neck and chest. Kitchen knife was protruding from the neck. A 4-inch souvenir curved dagger from the Jordanian Pavilion, a New York World's Fair 1964-65, was brought to the scene by the perpetrator and found on the floor between the victim's legs. Only 1,000 daggers made and sold at the Jordanian Pavilion World's Fair or in New York City at the House of Jordan store on 38th Street and 3rd Avenue and the Acropolis 44th Street and 8th Avenue. The sheath was never found. Yeah, so, these are all unsolved cases that we're talking about here. All right, so the one that they were just talking about at the Hoffman LaRoche plant is Joan Carroll Freeman. That's her right there. That actually looks like a picture taken a week ago by somebody, right? That doesn't even look old. It's wild. This is from 1968, though. Clifton Police and Passaic County detectives are conducting a tight-lipped investigation into the brutal murder of a clerk typist at the Hoffman LaRoche. Joan Carroll Freeman, 22 of West Patterson, was found Saturday night in her office at the Clifton Drug Firm. Her skull was smashed in. Police would not say if there were any suspects or if she had been sexually assaulted. And that picture that's her again, but it doesn't look anything like that last picture. It's so weird. I can't even tell that's the same person. Around-the-clock investigation into the brutal slaying of 22-year-old secretary continued today at the sprawling plant of Hoffman LaRoche Incorporated. The days after a watchman found the battered body of Miss Joan Carroll Freeman, 44, Grandview Drive. So, in this last one, this is where she lived. See, when you look at this, all these pins are just from today's cases. Look how they're all just packed in. Like, if you just pan out, that's what I'm trying to say. It's just, how could all these be just coincidental? So you got that little cluster there, and then right around in there. So this is where she lived. At a news conference at the Clifton Police Headquarters last night, Assistant Passaic County Prosecutor Vincent Hull refused to answer most questions. Let's see. I might just skip to the. I mean, I can show you. Let me show you where the plant is, though. See, they said it was at this plant right here. But so the plant is this whole area, but obviously it's probably been updated since the 60s. But they said it was in this county. You can see the green line right there, and it was in this county. So I'm just assuming it was in one of these buildings. But it also looks like there's been construction, and it might be completely different at this point. Thanks, Kubitschek. It's like a ghost town. Slain girl called quiet studious. So she was quiet and studious. They didn't have a ton of information on this. They interviewed all the people that worked at the plant. Investigators working on the Joan Carroll Freeman murder slowly and painstakingly painting a portrait of the Hoffman LaRoche plant last Saturday. Clifton Police Chief Joseph Nee, who was heading the contingent of city police investigators, said yesterday that after a week of questioning and probing, we know who was in the plant. The big question and the break is some indication of who brutally murdered Miss Freeman and a pretty 20-year-old secretary from West Patterson who worked in the marketing and research department of the big pharmaceutical plant. From scatter reports, it is developing that investigative teams are working on the supposition that the murderer was someone who Miss Freeman knew, which is what her brother Raymond thinks. According to one reliable source, the killer would have to have been known to her, because if she had been attacked by a stranger, there would have been signs of a struggle. I don't know. Jeez, I mean, it just kind of depends on how you get attacked. I mean, listen, that's kind of a dumb comment. Like, I mean, as soon as you start getting stabbed, you're going to start struggling, right? So, I don't know. I think once the knife gets brought out, there would have been signs of struggle. Thanks, KNS. He indicated that she was relaxed at the time of the slaying. Oh, okay, so she was relaxed when she was being beaten all over the place. Okay, so that means she knew the guy. Okay, I got it. Oh, as long as you know the person, you just sit still. Oh, you're Joe with the knife? Okay, cool. Thanks. Oh, go ahead. He indicated that she was relaxed at the time of the slaying, which was accomplished with a heavy wooden mallet used to bash her head. See, to me, it means that she didn't even know the guy was there, right? It means that he snuck up on her and bashed her in the head. Because how could you be looking at somebody, they pull out a mallet, and you go, oh, you're a friend, I'm relaxed still. Yeah, that doesn't work. Heavy wooden mallet used to bash her head in, and a sharp instrument used to cut her throat deeply several times. Jesus. There was no indication she fought, right, because she was bashed in the head from behind. According to reports, her head was almost severed when she was found by security guards. The dead girl's badly beaten body was found on the second floor of Building 34 in the medical literature department. She had a stack of computer cards. I wonder if there's Building 34 here. Building 34. Huh. Well, it did actually. I was close. They call that 340, so maybe that kind of makes sense. I'm sure that's been remodeled. Ms. Freeman worked in Building 1, about 100 yards from the building in which she was found. The investigation... So why was she in that one? Then. The dead girl's beaten body, was found on the second floor of Building 34 in the medical literature department. She had a stack of computer cards with her, and a sorter was turned on when she was found. Okay, so she went there to do something. The investigation of the murder is following a slow, tedious path locked in the plant and protected by tight security measures. The police and county investigators continue the probe. Hull said that several angles are being pursued. Right. Well, it's unsolved today. Yeah. That was just an update, not an update, but they were just brought the same story up in another article. Hint moving body. So this part is kind of sucks. Dr. Edwin Albano, chief medical examiner of New York, told the News Monday that it was very possible that important clues were missed when the body of Joan Carroll Freeman was removed from the Hoffman LaRoche plant on August 31st without an examination of the body and murder scene. Could you imagine somebody doing that now? Jeez. Murder scene by a physician from the Passaic County Medical Examiner's Office. The News also learned that Dr. William Van Vuren, Passaic County Assistant Medical Examiner who performed the autopsy on Miss Freeman, was not informed of her death until the body had been taken to the county morgue at Kent's funeral home. Well, I mean, I hope he did the autopsy correct. Got some swabs and whatnot. The News also learned that Miss Freeman's body was theorized to be removed on the authority of either the Clifton Police Department or the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office. The News has not ascertained that in the sensational Judy Kavanaugh murder case, her body was also removed from the place. Okay, well, let me move on to the final little breakdown here at the end. Thanks, Rebecca N. Cause of death: skull fracture with blunt object and multiple slashes to the throat with edged instrument. Struck from behind, beaten. There you go. Struck from behind. You guys see that? No wonder she was relaxed. Okay, brother. You know, now I guess it's possible that she knew the guy. He came in and then she was just not paying attention to him and then he hit her. But it's also very possible he just snuck up on her and did it. Beaten about the face, throat slash, and cut to the depth of the spine. Secured place of employment. Found clothed on a Saturday at 5:30 p.m. August 31st, 1968. Joan Freeman was working overtime, recording employees hours from time. Let's see, recording employees hours from Time Second Floor Medical Library in Building 34 on the Clinton side of Hoffman LaRoche on a security gated campus. Her, what does it mean? Her at her from behind. Let's see. I think they didn't even put the sentence in there, but she was hit. Look at that. Her at her from behind. So she was hit from behind, striking her in the back of the head with a wooden mallet, which was recovered at the scene. The victim, so that if they have that mallet, there might be DNA on that. Let's see, at the scene. Victim repeatedly in the face and head. Man, whoever wrote that, this whole paragraph here, it's horrible. Wooden mallet, which was recovered at the scene. Victim repeatedly hit in the face and head. Throat cut and slashed. A guard making a routine sweep of the building found her body hours later. In the ensuing weeks, detectives interviewed and performed background checks on more than 300 people, including probably a man who had been on duty at the campus, front and back gates, and the employees who were working that day. Dozens of people were polygraph tested. Freeman was a former Passaic Valley High School cheerleader and had no known enemies, no habits or relationships that, would have led to a motivation of that kind of a savage beating. Crazy, man. Ugh, Jesus. So, yeah, this is just part of the series here. There's a whole bunch more. I don't know if you guys are still interested. I'm not sure if it's as... Yeah. Yeah, it's a secure facility, so, I'm not sure how somebody got in there, but they did say in the previous article that it would have been easy to get in there. Do you remember that? You just walk straight down, blah, 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 blah. Remember how they worded that? But anyways, all right, everybody. I appreciate you guys showing up. Sorry for the initial... not working, whatever the hell happened. My whole computer froze up. And then the super chat windows were playing donations from months ago. But I guess I could have let it keep playing. Where are we going? We're not going anywhere. I'm actually I gotta go. Let's see. Oh wow, is that from the previous show? Crazy. All right, see you later, Steve. Yeah, there's a lot more cases to go over in this series. Thanks, Julie W. Yeah, let me check the see what the electoral maps are doing now. That's still the same. They haven't touched that one. Arizona, still the same. They haven't done anything there. Georgia is 98 in, and now it's within 23,000 votes. They're going to find a way to pass him. I guarantee it. And Pennsylvania hasn't done any more, but see, that one looks dangerous like that too. Just given the amount. I think, what was it at last night? 62% or something? When he had a 700,000 lead. So they've made up in 25%, 500,000. So that means you could make up another 200,000 in 11%. And that would put them about 50,000 ahead if you had the exact same percentage. Yeah, I think everybody's irritated by the election. It's stupid. Okay? The mail-in voting is really a dangerous way to do it. And the reason it is because They literally just sent out envelopes in these states because they don't normally do it. In my state, you have to be registered, then they send you the letter. They just sent out ballots everywhere. So there could be places where people aren't really living, and then anybody could grab that ballot, fill it out, send it in, and nobody's really checking the signatures, okay? What signature are they checking it against? It doesn't even make any sense. So that's the part that I don't like, but it's hard to prove, like, oh wow, there's 20,000 votes that are completely invented out of the thin air, right? And that's why, the going to the polls is better because it's literally you going there, and you show your ID and things get approved. Things are real at that point. This mail-in shit, my God, really? Yeah. Well, one thing for sure, there wasn't a referendum here. There was no referendum whatsoever. The House picked up 5 seats for the Republicans, maybe 6. Senate's still in the control of, and so that makes me happy. Like, if somehow Biden wins, he's not going to get any of the shit done that they wanted to get done. None of the progressive maneuvers and all that stuff. It's just going to be middle of the road stuff, and that's good. It's much better than the agenda that was being proposed, in my opinion. If you're somebody that likes the socialism agenda, then good for you. It was crazy, Rebecca, in Portland. We used to have it where you had an envelope, you filled out your ballot, you put it in this envelope and you signed it. Then that went into another envelope that was sealed, signed, and had some kind of barcodes on it and everything. This time, I got my envelope, and all I had to do was just sign. I filled it out, signed this piece of paper, put it in the envelope, and sent it off. That seems so ridiculously unverifiable. There was nothing on the document that would say who I was or anything. Like, there was nothing that you would scan in and say, okay, that's this guy, and yeah, it was insane. But I live in Portland, so what difference does it make, right? It's like, yeah, that's how we used to have it here. It just seems so Mickey Mouse. Like, it's just a generic form that anybody could fill out. You sign it, send it in, and it's just valid, right? Wow, it's just valid, yep. Well, how do you prove that? Yeah. One thing I don't like is how, here's one of the things I think is something that the left politicians should learn not to do. Okay, they are experts at the soft bigotry of low expectations. They think that minorities have no abilities at all, and you can hear it in Biden when he talks sometimes. The way he phrases things, it's like he has this really low perception of minorities. But they think that they can't do things, so that they come up with all these things to, they listen. Don't require any minorities to have ID because that's suppression of votes. Why? They can't be like everybody else and get a freaking driver's license? It's not hard to get one. Why does that make it voter suppression to get a freaking ID card? I don't really understand that part. And just the whole, like, we'll coddle you, we'll take care of you, don't worry about anything, tell you what, we'll send. People want to work and kick ass in life, right, everybody? They don't want to be taken care of, like, the government taking care of you unless you need it. There's people that need that kind of assistance. Yeah, we don't have any of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's voter suppression to want somebody to have an ID of who they are. How come? I mean, when they go to a bar and have a drink, they don't have to show their ID. When they get alcohol, they don't need to show their ID. Why is it voter suppression? It's just invented crap, you know? Can't stand it. Yeah, I mean, there's people, if you need health care, you want Obamacare and all that kind of stuff because they have, you know, what Trump was going to do, though, he just wanted to get rid of Obamacare, and then Obamacare would still be in existence until another thing was put in its place, just like it's been. It's basically been wiped out this whole time, but it's still there working for everybody, right? It's just not being funded properly because nobody's being taxed anymore. You remember the mandate that if you didn't have Obamacare and you had no insurance at all, you would have to pay a fine. And because when you did need insurance, you could just go get it, but you needed to have paid for it with the fine. But it turns out that it wasn't really a fine. It was being taxed. But it was sold to the public as being... It wasn't a fine. It's not a tax, everybody. It's not a tax. It's not a tax. It's not a tax. It's not a tax. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. It's not a tax. It's not a tax. It's not a tax. And then they go to the Supreme Court. John Roberts, they were going to shut it down. And then John Roberts said, well, if you say it's a tax, I will say it's constitutional. Then they go, oh, okay. It's a tax then. What a joke. You know? You sell it to the public one way, and just to slam it through. No, it's not private health care at all. It's a public health care option, where if you were somebody that made money, like my friend, you know how much money he had to pay? He's not poor, my friend, but he had to pay something like a $10,000 deductible. And like $2,000 or $3,000 a month, because it's people like him that had to pay a lot more so that everybody else got to have it for free or really low amounts. And that's just not fair, you guys. I'm sorry. It just isn't. I believe in healthcare savings accounts. I've told you guys that 1,000 times. Now, you have to phase it in because there's people right now that don't have time to build up those. But they should have it for everybody else. It's just like a 401k, but it's for medical costs, pre-tax dollars. You put it in there all your healthy years, 30, 40s. And, and there's actually provisions that if you don't have the funds in there, that there's a bigger pool out there that covers those people. But you get it in there, and literally by the time you're 40 or 50 years old, you'd have $200,000 or $300,000 in there, and you have a deductible. And I would actually make it so that the deductible raises as you get older. So when your younger years, it might be $2,500 a year, $2,500 if you're sick, and then when you're about 50, 60, it starts going up to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Because you've got $400,000 or $500,000 in it when you're 60 years old. And they do it over in Singapore, and they have what's considered probably the best healthcare in the world. And when you die, you can actually transfer your account to your children. Yeah, the truth is, Rebecca, they didn't really even have a big plan or anything like that. And that's one of the issues. I think Trump, they needed to have an actual plan that they were going to switch over to if he got rid of Obamacare. And all he had to do was tell people wearing masks is good. And then he would have been golden. But the problem is the media completely built a persona of Trump that wasn't true. Okay? It wasn't true at all. They made him look like all these different things. Oh, this big time racist. All these the Russian investigations and all this stuff, and they just were relentless about it. Even when they were proven wrong on all the investigations, they just kept going. And then there's people out there that only watch certain channels and read certain things, and they believed it. So there's enough people out there. Well, it's true. I mean, all the Karens out there, not our Karen, but all the Karens out there that voted for Biden because Trump was they all watch CNN every single night, and they believed that garbage. And that's what's scary, is that we have a media, and we had an entire party in the political realm that were on the same team, and they were able to sell a narrative of a president that actually did incredible. I mean, he kicked ass, everybody. And you can go, oh, that's bullshit. That's because you don't know what he did, right? You probably watch CNN all the time. If you watch CNN and MSNBC on a daily basis, you wouldn't have a clue what he did. He did amazing things and got shit done, and he did the stuff that he said he was going to do, and he did it. Okay? And, I don't normally get up and be talking like this, but I'm just telling you what was done to him should scare everybody. It was right out of, and when I say this, I'm just going to say Joseph Goebbels of the Nazi party, under Hitler, a Nazi, would have loved it. He was the media guy. Okay, go look him up. That is exactly the kind of shit you do. If you have the media joining a political party, which is exactly what happened right here, you got a scary situation. And even it shows you how tough Trump is, right? Because even with this pandemic going on and the media onslaught and false investigations, he went right down to the wire here, and he still has a quote shot at it. And that's a freaking miracle given what's going on, okay? And I just want people to be intellectually honest with themselves. And, Trump, his personality doesn't help him out a lot of times. I'll be honest there. It doesn't help him out, but it doesn't mean that the truth isn't the truth. He's an ass sometimes, right? But sometimes when he was an ass correctly, especially with that idiot Jim Acosta for CNN. Okay? Jim Acosta is a clown masquerading as a news reporter. Don Lemon is an absolute pile of shit. Okay? I mean, he really is a joke of a human. An embarrassment to mankind. He's just he's Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. Yeah, I don't care if he is what. I mean, I'm an ass sometimes too, right, everybody? Come on. Let's be honest. But I'm just saying, look at, he had those 3 peace deals. He's trying to go the back door. What's going to go on in that peace deal that he had going on? He had this great deal going on, and, the big racist Trump, right? The Jewish vote was the highest it's ever been for him. The black vote is the highest it's ever been for a Republican in years, black males. And the Hispanic vote is way higher. So why would they all vote for a racist? Because they weren't stupid. They actually figured it out that he really wasn't one. See, I actually had somebody on this channel here. They used to come here all the time, and then she just kept texting me over and over again, and she said she couldn't support me because Donald Trump was a racist. And because I'm supporting a racist, therefore she couldn't support my channel anymore. That's the psychopathic, what do you call it? Trump derangement syndrome bullshit that so many people... Go on to YouTube, Facebook right now, and just type in any post on a forum about anything, and you'll still get all the Karens that come in there bitching and moaning about Trump, because they still didn't realize that what they were seeing on CNN, MSNBC, was total bullshit for the last 5 years. And when I say 5, yes, because there was the year that they were running for elections. Well, our Karen, our cool Karen, she changed her name. She sent me an email. That was hilarious. Oh, man. It's just unreal. I mean, I know there's probably people in here that don't agree because they don't want to admit that they were kind of bamboozled by the media. Okay? But when you look at Trump in his last 2 weeks, the effort and the energy that he had to try to get reelected compared to Joe Biden, who can barely walk across the stage. He walks a little bit like Tim Conway when he was in the one episode when he's trying to get across the street, but when the light turns red, he turns around and he never really makes it quite across the street. Look he goes out there for a quick interview today, and he needs a teleprompter just to do a quick little, talk. And people decided to vote for a senile, corrupt jackass over a president who kicked ass for 4 years but was turned into a pile of shit by the media. Right. And they were willing to do that, to sell their souls to vote for Biden because they hate Trump that much. Yeah. And that's the honest to God truth, everybody. Joe Biden, there isn't a soul. I'm going to say this right now. If you're somebody out there that voted for Joe Biden and you're saying, "Oh, I just really loved him. He was a great," you are a lying, dog-faced pony soldier. Okay? Hey, thanks, Mag. I didn't even go into the jail. Yeah. That's right. You are a lying, dog-faced pony soldier if you actually say that you were excited to vote for Biden and can't wait for his leadership. Okay? There isn't one vote out there that's legitimate. That's maybe his kid, but I think even then it would be a struggle. Everybody, I'd say 90% of the people that voted for Trump did it because they appreciated what he did and support what he's doing. That's the difference. But instead, the suburban Karens out there, what are we at now in Pennsylvania? What was that I was just looking at? 23,000 Georgia. I think the suburban housewives should be ashamed of themselves for sitting around at home watching CNN and MSNBC and going, yeah, that's right, Don Lemon, you're right. Yeah, and then getting the little phone calls and, hey. And I'm not talking all of them, just the ones that thought Biden was a better choice. Unreal. You know how that goes, too. Oh, God, did you see that? What a racist. Did you see what he said? He said that, in Charlottesville. No, did you watch the whole 18-minute interview where he condemned it? No, I didn't, but it would have. Yeah. So if you're a suburban housewife, I don't have anything against that. I think it's great. I'm saying, but if you're one of the ones that sat around watching CNN and MSNBC and believe the bullshit that they were putting out, and what all your friends were saying, well, that's a shame. Really is. I thought his argument about not having, what do you call those things? The projects, built in suburbia, like that was, that's not really a great argument. Hey, I kept that from happening. You guys should love me, I don't know. What are you talking about, Dadio? What does it have to do with, huh? Yeah, go watch at the last 5 or 6 speeches or, things that Trump did, the rallies, when he plays it on the big board, they do the montage of Biden. Man, and it's real, too, because those really happened. And especially the times where he's like sitting there and he goes, George, we got to get rid of George. And then you see Jill over there just going, oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus. Yeah. And he goes, oh, yeah, we got to get rid of Donald Trump. He's running for Senate. I really don't think if he gets in there, he won't last for more than 2 years. And if he is, it'll be like there's a original Star Trek episode where one of the starship captains he went to some place where there was Klingons or something, and he got kind of like mind controlled, and he was sort of just propped up like he'd just sit there and stare at like this, and then he would read teleprompter stuff. I forgot the name of the episode, but it totally reminds me of that. It was one where there was like Nazis and shit. That episode on the old Star Trek. I don't know, man. Well, the thing is, Trump's old, but he doesn't seem old when he's talking. Like, he literally... Yeah, see, what Zozo does when she keeps making fun of Trump, that's what the media does. But they do it so often that everybody buys into it. So she just kind of perpetuates the making fun of him all the time. And then people go, yeah, he's like this. And then he becomes like a clown, and then people joke. So I never did any of those. Like, ooh, look at he's got, you can do like minor jokes, maybe. The tanning is orange. Like, he looked pretty normal when he was in the hospital. Then as soon as he got out, his face turned orange again. Yeah, like what about, the car that General Lee, Bubba Watson, the golfer, owns it. So what's he supposed to do now? He can't drive that around anymore? Well, we don't need to be in mourning because there's still a shot here, right? We're supposed to do another update on Arizona. I'm really interested in this one. Because yesterday it was 75%, and he was down by 150,000. Now he's down by 79,000 with only 11% more used up after that. So that means there might be another 11% would take off. He could, maybe the pollsters were wrong on that one at Fox News. But only 2 of the outlets have given that to Biden, which is out of 7. The shot is this. If they can turn Arizona back, that's amazing. If somehow they can get Arizona back, even if they can't get Arizona back, they have to win Nevada, which is only 8,000 vote difference. And then they have to run the table over here. They have to win Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. I think that works, right? So what are we at? We're at 234, 247, 57, 63, 269. Oh, and then Alaska here, 272. Yeah, so that would do it. So you have to either get Nevada, which is still light blue. Arizona was called, but not. It was only called by the AP and Fox News. 5 other organizations have not called that one yet. So if he wins Nevada, then he has to win Pennsylvania. But look how close Pennsylvania is now. It's 165,000 votes with 11% left, and they've made up just a ludicrous amount. It's like 70% of the remaining votes, 75, keep going to Biden. North Carolina, people seem to think that's going to go to Trump. Georgia, though, look at this damn thing. That was 300,000 yesterday at 82%. Now it's at 27,000 with 2% left. So, I mean, that could easily flip over to Biden. See? Yeah, it would be cool. God, you know what just really sucks is the stuff that he was doing. The deals with the Middle East to try to get the Palestinians through the other direction by having all of the Palestinians, network of countries. They're all now partners with Israel, so they're going to have to do something. That was a great move. Nobody ever had thought of that before, and it worked, or is working. And just, God, so many things he was doing. Yeah. Donald Trump is 100% not a racist. That's all I can tell you. I have watched every single thing he's ever said. Fox News literally covers every time he opens his mouth. And that's when you can see what he's really saying. When you turn to CNN, they only take the one part out that they can manipulate into a meaning that they want you to hear. It's amazing. And you can just see it with the Charlottesville. Every single time he makes a comment, they twist it like that. Right, I know. And then his daughter is married to a Jewish person. The whole thing it's a total farce. Okay? But there's a lot of dumb people out there that actually believed it. That's the scary part about it. Every time I would watch the news and they'd say that, I go, oh, God, here we go again. So, it's interesting that it's still, if they can switch Arizona back, that's a big deal, because he could actually, at that point, you could lose. I don't know, actually, you'd have to win Arizona. It still wouldn't. There isn't another state over here that he could lose, I don't think, unless he won Nevada and Arizona, because then he'd have 17, and then he could afford to lose North Carolina or Georgia if he somehow got Nevada and Arizona. And I guess they're apparently in play there. So. Yeah. God, it was just it was so weird. I mean, look how weird this is. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. We went to sleep last night. He was up 700,000 in Pennsylvania, 300,000 in Michigan, and 106,000 in Wisconsin. I stayed up till about 2:30 in the morning, and at 2 in the morning, 5 o'clock East Coast time, 4 o'clock Wisconsin time, all of a sudden, boom. It completely, the 106,000 was gone, and Trump was down 8,000. Michigan, boom, in the morning, reversed all 300,000. But all those voting stopped in these. And there was another thing I was going to show you guys. If I can find it really quick. And apparently this is a real thing that really happened. Let me find it. Right here. Look at this thing. This is this is an actual update here. So right here it says Donald Trump, 2,200,902. Joe Biden, 1,992,356. And then a little while later, Joe Biden, Trump is still at exactly 2,200,902. All the other guys, 49,198, 10,559, 6,549. See, these are all the same. But Biden got 192 to 138,000 votes just plopped onto his account. Right there, 138, not 339, 399, with not one vote going to Trump during that time. Is that even possible? That you could find a batch of 138,399 votes and not one vote in there goes for Trump. Now that's if this is a real thing, okay? I actually heard a reference to this by a guest on Fox News earlier. And I had already seen this. I don't know because it's a screenshot, but they said it was a real thing. So, 138,399 just immediately plopped onto his account. And look at that. And it seems legit here, too, because at this point, it was 90.9% of the vote was in. And then, this is in Michigan, by the way. And then right here, it's 93.8 was in. But the only person who got any of those votes was Joe Biden. 138,399. Okay, but just take that with a little grain of salt in case that's a totally manipulated thing. It looks real, though. And that seems like almost exactly what happened in Michigan when he was up 300,000, and he probably slimmed it down, and then boom, it just flipped over. You know, another thing that kind of sucks, too, is with the late ballots, the mail-ins. So even if there's some outstanding votes in the Republican red counties, those votes aren't going to come in for Trump because the Democrats living in those counties, even though there might be less of them, they sent in their mail-in ballots, too. And so even in the red counties, the majority of the mail-in votes are coming in for Biden, which just blows having that. You know, I just find it so astonishing that he was up 700,000 votes in Pennsylvania as we were ending the show last night, and now it's 150,000. I mean, just that could easily flip over. It just. I mean, I can just see that. I mean, when that hits 95, it's going to be either right near even or, and then when it gets to 100, boom, 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 100,000 behind. And that's why he's like, well, don't count. But see, that's another thing too, is it's so easy with the mail-in ballots to not have them be really authenticated correctly. Right. Then it would make a difference. Yeah, if that's true. Well, no, even, none of them, they're all, I mean, North Carolina, they're saying, is the one that has the best chance to go to Trump. But Trump has to win Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, and then he's got to pick up one of these two right here. And then if you assume Alaska's going to go for him, 50% of the votes in. I don't know who's reported or whatever. But Alaska has gone for Trump in the past, or last time. So he's got to do Nevada. Nevada seems doable, but we don't know what's out there. It's only 8,000 votes right there. I mean, if you live in Nevada and you didn't vote for Trump, you're a moron. Okay, that's just the honest to God truth. I mean, your whole economy runs off of the casinos, and that industry is the engine And if you want to get your shit, going again with the guy that got the vaccine coming up and, isn't as strict on shutting everything down, that was the guy. Not, hey, I heard that Biden's the good. Well, I don't want him to get rid of the Electoral College. And the reason I don't is because the Democrats, all they have to do is win California, and you win, you almost have the popular vote locked up. The popular vote, I think the Electoral College is better because it represents the entire country. And if it wasn't that way, you could just go to California, New York, Florida, and Texas and just spend millions of dollars and just try to get all their votes. This way, you give all across the country some value. Now, there's people out there that go, well, we should raise California then because look at this. Okay, here's a way to look at it. Like the population in California is, I think, what was it, 39 million people? And they have 55, right? And then you go over to Montana. Let's see how many people. Let's see, population. They have 1 million people. So you would think if California, let's see, population, California. I think it's 39, right? 39.5, yeah. Okay, so you would think then, based on population, that Montana, who has 3 electoral votes, would only have like 2, 1.5 actually. Okay, so they've got more electoral votes per person in Montana than California does. So people in California are like, hey, well, we should get 60 or 70 of them. Yeah, well, it's too bad that there's idiots out there, Grass Valley, that actually care if he's an insufferable prick. Right? You should care about what he gets done. So, those idiots out there that voted against him because he's an insufferable prick are absolute dipshits. Yeah, but that's all, that's okay, though. We got a society full of idiots, Just look at some of the jury decisions out there. Hey, Teresa, you know what I'll do on my show, though, is I'll probably just talk about what I want to talk about. I've already done a 3-hour show on true crime, and then I was on for 45 minutes before that. And then after that, I thought I would start talking about what I was talking about last night on a channel members only show where we went over the election as it was going on. So, generally, when you go to somebody's show, you just let them do what they're doing, and if you don't like it, go to another one. Right. It's a good way to do it. And there's really nothing positive to be saying about yes, everybody. Okay, everybody hold hands. Everybody hold hands for a little bit. Okay, everybody hold hands.
Come on, everybody. Do it, do it, do it. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. Kumbaya,
my lord, kumbaya.
Wait, why the hell are you singing that?
Well, because that person wanted to talk about some happy things.
Well, what are those? What are happy things?
Well, like flowers and singing kumbaya and worshipping trees and whatnot.
Worshipping trees? Wow, that's weird. Who the hell does that?
Well, probably the same people who say, hey, let's talk about something happy.
Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, cool. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya, my fork. Kumbaya.
Hey, thanks, Mag. Hey, thanks, Mary Lou. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Ray. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad I was able to give you guys some giggles. See? I did it for you up there. Hey, Karen. Whatever your name is. Hey, Karen, Teresa Ann, whatever the hell, we sang for you. We tried to make you laugh and giggle. Did it work? Kumbaya. Oh my God. Yeah, we need to do the hey yama, hey yama, hey. Da-da-da. Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, I'm not some political science major or anything like that. I just see things. I just observe shit, and why not just chat for a while?
Gosh, I guess she didn't like the way we talked about happy things. Boy, that's so mean. She just laughed.
God, I can't believe it. Karen up there, you made Mary Lou cry. You're not welcome here. Daddy-o Caspian horses rock. Thank you. Oh, yeah? Yeah, don't wake your kids up. Come on. Jesus.
Hey, this is Rod Laber, your retired astronaut with his hydroelectric car. He's guaranteed to rip up the road right in front of your face. We also have Jim Hansen with his beaver mobile, the only car that knocks down trees at 200 miles an hour. Trials from 6 and 7.
Beaver.
Oh yeah, don't forget about the 32 hang gliders with a motorcycle.
Oh, good. Cool. No bail. So now I'm down 10. Doom, 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 doom. 198, Portland by 2. They've got the ball 35 seconds to go. Calhoun on the inbound play to give Bobby Gross right in front of us. Bobby takes a look. Hands back to Lionel Hollins. They're playing the clock down. 24 seconds, so working for a good shot, and hopefully they'll go in. Hollins works the clock down to 9-8 around the Robin Jones pick from the circle. He scores! Lionel Hollins, a perfect play. A pick and roll, one of the easiest plays in basketball. He got about a 17-foot jump shot and canned it. Oh, look at that. Hey, we're $5 down. Yeah. Yeah, LeBron's an idiot. LeBron James, the jackass of the century. Yes, the man who shut down the NBA to support a woman abuser. But when 2 officers were shot in the head, play on! Dun, 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 dun. Do you guys ever you see that hypocrisy there? Anyways, I'll get the hell out of here. Wait, how come that shifted over like that? Oh, that worked. Oh yeah, I gotta fix that one. Yeah, I sure as hell don't. What I hate though is when a celebrity affects my life by shutting down the NBA for a week because they're supporting a woman abuser, you know, who didn't listen to what the cops were saying, reached into his car and got shot in the back. And then, well, I don't know, a week later, you get 2 officers shot in the head, and it's game on, everybody. Who cares about them? I think they're a joke. The NBA, okay? I'll still watch the games because I like watching the NBA. But as far as wanting to know who they are as people, I don't give a shit. You know, they lost all the respect of anything that I had just because of that hypocrisy right there. You know, had they, you know, when George Floyd had the knee on his neck, had the NBA said, hey, let's cancel a couple games, I'd been like probably for that, because everybody in America was for doing some sort of police reform after witnessing that on television. Okay, but instead it was taken over by a bunch of wackos who started rioting and destroying things, which actually then switched everybody back over to going, well, I guess we we really do need the police out there. Absolutely unproductive. Total idiots. Yeah, things aren't changing around here. Yeah, Al Sharpton is actually, I think black people should be very wary of the Al Sharpton types, because they do not want to ever fix anything, because they make their money on the social injustice deal. You know, it's just, so they don't want anything to ever be worked out where everybody's the same. And you know, here's the sad part is everybody is the same, but there's certain people that intentionally want to keep other people down so that they can keep winning elections by blaming the other people for the reason why they're down. Okay? But it's literally the Democratic politicians and policies that literally keep minorities down, and they do it intentionally, because every 4 years when there's an election, they blame the racist, right, for keeping them down. And we'll do everything for you. And then as soon as the election's over, okay, screw you. Then 4 years later, oh God, it's just... I just, if you guys can't see that, I'm sorry. It's out there. Really obvious. Ding, 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 ding. One with 24 hours. No, the George Bush thing was crazy. It came down to just Florida, and then it was a 500 vote difference in a state of 10 million votes. And then it went on for months, man. They were doing shit where, you know, magnifying glasses with hanging chads. Is that thing dimpling out a little bit? Is there a slight bit? Is that thing kind of... Well, hold on. Let me look at that again. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the hanging chads. Yeah, that was 2000. Hanging chad would be where the dimple wasn't fully pushed out and it was still hanging on there, but they could see that it was meant to be pushed out. Now, what if it was just kind of slightly pushed in, but there was no breakage of the, did you need the breakage around the edges? Good night, KNS. Hey, I'm glad I was able to make you laugh a couple times. Yeah, nobody knows if anybody was rigged. I just think it was people. You know how you know what the vote for the president should be? A 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with 2 circles on it that are, you just punch a hole in one of them, and that is the vote. Forget all the other shit. See, what I don't understand, how about this? Mail-in elections for everything but the president. The president vote, though, is you go in and you just hammer a hole through it with a signature on it and you hand it to him. How hard is that? You know how fast those lines would go? You just go, because all you're doing is voting for the president, because that's really what matters the most, and then have mail-in for everything else. Does anybody think that that's a crazy idea? I mean, you know, I'm saying it kind of being funny. I mean, I wouldn't need to make it that big or whatever, but why not just have a sheet of paper that you go into a voting booth with your ID, and all it is one choice. Who do you want for president? And you go, what's your name? Great, thank you. Bing, 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 you're out of there. Those lines would be so fast. Instead, you go in there, you got to look at all the crap, read about it, and do this and that and the other thing. Nah, the marble thing doesn't make sense. You got to hand them a sheet of paper, you sign it. There's only two, whatever the choices are for president. You pick the one that you want, you hand it to them, and you get the hell out of there after you showed them your ID. Then they have the physical sheet, and you just send it through the machine. I mean, you would count those suckers in an hour. I wonder if they've ever thought of that before. It just seems so. The president vote has to be in person. The rest, you can mail them in. Or, you know, you could do it where, how about this? You know, each state has all the ballot measures and shit. That's what I think should be mail-in. It might be that for the president and the Senate and House races in your state, it's just a simple ding, 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 boom. It's when you have like the 47 bills about, hey, we really need to fund the education system in our city, everybody. We're trying to get $1 billion fund in here to help our education. Well, what are you going to use it for? Well, we're really just shoring up our unions, our teachers' unions. Oh, okay, forget it. Do you ever notice that part? That's the part that really pisses me off. I mean, I love teachers. I think the teachers should get paid more money, and you should be able to fire the dumb ones. And then they have a generous 401k plan, but no pension. But I would pay, like if a teacher's making 50 now, pay them 80, and they have a ridiculous matching, like 10% matching on 401k for their time in there, and they'll have a ton of money when they're finished, but it won't bankrupt the freaking cities that they work in with these unfunded pensions that they get for life, right? So that's how I would do it. I know it makes too much sense, and it'll never pass because, you know, the Democratic Party gets their votes by keep saying no, well, you know, and that's why they don't want to do the charter schools, because that interferes with the public school system's teachers. And if the vouchers were given to parents to spend on whatever school they wanted to go to, the money wouldn't be funneled back into the public school system. You get what I'm saying? No, you can't. You can't do phone lines. God, you can't do that shit. You could have just people making up shit. You know, like, hey, you know, I got 9 friends over. We're gonna do all. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's going to be it for me tonight. Looks like I don't know what happened to the chat over here. Maybe nobody was chatting, I guess. I know they are for you, Zozo, but not for everybody else. Yeah, the politics in Australia are really boring. It's like, hey, everybody has to vote, and if you don't vote, you get fined. I think that's the most undemocratic thing I've ever heard in my life. If you don't vote, you get fined. You know, I don't want idiots voting, okay? If you're too lazy to vote, I don't want you there, okay? And it's also like, that seems weird. Like you're actually going to fine somebody? That's their choice not to vote, right? Well, if you're given the chance, in a free society, you should vote. And if you don't vote, we're going to fine you for not doing... Yeah. Yeah, I think over here it's interesting. Yeah. How much do they fine you over there for that, by the way? Like, what's the dollar amount? Well, I mean, after you subtract the, you know, if it's 500, it's really 385. Yeah, that's not that much. It's kind of weird, though. It's like you're saving them time. Why are you getting fined? What's the reasoning behind the fine? That you're not living up to your social obligations? Living in a democratic society? Yeah, exactly. That just seems so counterintuitive. No, it's only 20. Well, why? What's the reasoning behind the fine? See, isn't this way happier now?
Yeah, it sure is. It's amazing. It's amazing, 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 amazing. I love this song. Just a walking down the street. You never know who you might meet.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Walking down the street and I had to stop. Walking down the street and I had to stop. Turn up the radio and talk the talk. Here's a little story that I got to tell about 3 bad brothers that you know so well. Started way back in history with that rock MCA and me, my D. Had a little horse, his name was Paul Revere. Just me and my horse in a quart of beer. Riding across the land, kicking up sand. Sheriff Bossy's on my tail, 'cause I'm in demand. Do-do-diddle-doo, diddle-doo-doo-doo. Alright, yeah, okay.
Wait, that's me. I'm supposed to say that. Okay. Alright, everybody. Well, that's going to be it for me tonight. Thank you all for showing up. Maintain your social distancing. Wear your mask. And when you're in the stores and all that shit. And wash your hands whenever possible. Okay? Thank you all for showing up here tonight. Let me get my... Say some thanks to the So thank you to Lee D. Berserk. Wait, hold on. Let's do it the other way. I like this one better. Yeah. Lee D. Thank you.
Let me try this one. There we go. Berserker Loci. Lee D. Jody William. Dario Caspian Horses Rock. Catherine Sophia. Kit Kat. Lee D again. Sarah M. Julie W. Kubachak. Sarah M. Lee D. Zozo. Dario Caspian Horses Rock. Darlene White. Kubachak. KNS. Rebecca N. Julie W. Mag. Boom. And Mag again. Basically a cat eye donation. Dario Caspian Horses Rock. Victoria Ballard. Lee D. And Jen H. All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
My throat was all... Yeah. Hey, thanks, everybody. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Probably do some more of these New Jersey... You know, I wouldn't mind... I might switch it up to something else, but I'll get back to the New Jersey cases. But if you got case ideas, send them over. I know that some of you have already sent one. I'll check them out. But... thanks, everybody. Why don't you guys hang out and chat for a while? I'm going to go ahead and hit the end of the show wrap button, and you know, then we'll play some of this fun music for a little bit. Then we'll turn that off, and then you can still chat for a while. Then I'm going to turn off the other one. You know, just to get into the weeds of the boring, mundane part of what I do on the side. Wait, what happened? Yeah, I've been doing this true crime. Wow, that froze up for a second. Here, let me start over. Let me start over with it. I'm gonna start over with those guys. There we go. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, plug rejector, I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher.
Of course, Zozo, of course. He always does that. Because you're always giving him shit. Yeah, with a little psychedelic mushrooms and
I'm always gonna be a pup protector.
fool deflector, interceptor, and I mean a little spectre with a vector.
On his pector,
With all respect, ya.
just remember I've a temper fucking check ya.
I have no agenda.
I'm a pretender.
Never knew that you straight without a blender.
And in the end, I'm gonna send you on a mission to the field with Linda. Alright, cool.
Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.
See that? That's Zozo right there. See, that's how she is. That's Zozo right there. And that's me just trying to do a show, for God's sakes. And that's her. Just like Mary Lou and John Boy. Yay!
What are you talking about?
Oh, you know, just a comparison.
You gotta admit, Zoe's pretty damn cute. Just kidding. I mean, well, I was trying to say it was Chloe. Not Zoe. But look at Chloe. Look at her. Look at that. She's really, like, she's brutal. Yeah. Like she gets up and in that boxing position. I think Blue's ears are going to be ripped off at one of these times. Yeah, he does have fun. You remember when Blue was really like he was freaking out when she showed up originally? Yeah, she just does a spin all the time. It's amazing. She just does a spin like every second. Like when you call her name, she just comes over and starts spinning around. I'm not sure if that's a mental problem or... I think I'm gonna have to get another one. I mean, film another wrestling thing. Hi, Chloe. Come here, Chloe. Yeah, she's pretty, you know. Hey, Chloe, what's going on, buddy? Go ahead. Yeah, she just always does a little spin. It's crazy. But anyways, thanks everybody, and I'm going to shut this sucker off, and then you guys can chat for a while, alright? Alright, so as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. And